Hi, good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue. My name is Selim Adunu. The Big Issue is your program for incisive analysis and riveting conversation, live and interactive. As always, you can join the conversation via our WhatsApp line 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996, and we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. This morning, the protest against illegal mining or irresponsible mining continues. Our Stop Galamsey campaign continues. Now, government has recommissioned the Operation Halt, and this is after Labour threatened to strike on October 10. Based on some concessions made by government, Labour decided to suspend its strike. Some have been unhappy with Labour, others think that it was the right thing to do. We'll look at all of that and see what concessions government is making. Government, according to Labour, and of course from statement from the Information Ministry, has undertaken to revoke the LI we've been speaking about every time. We will try to understand also what the revocation of that LI means, amongst other things. Military people have been deployed into some areas, the Brim River area, for example, for 2 weeks. What happens after the 2 weeks? Where do they move to next, etc.? What is the plan so far? They've not arrested any illegal miner, obviously, because they know that they are there. How much are we able to sustain this? Is this the solution, or we still need a temporary ban? What is the way forward? UTAG, in fact, is on strike. They say that they will go on strike because they feel betrayed by organized labor for standing down or suspending their strike. We'll look at all of that in the context of the Stop Galamsey fight. Also, we'll use the rest of the time to discuss some politics. The NDC has been raising some concerns about the ballot paper printing and notice of poll printing, etc. They feel that doing so now when the register is not being finalized is not the way to go. How many ballot papers are you going to print at all? Because we do not know how many people are on the roll as we speak, because there were initial issues with the register as exhibited. The EC said they were going to exhibit the updated or the final register soon. Shouldn't we do that before we go ahead to print? Which one should come before the other? We'll look at all of that today. I will take a short break, return, provide some updates, and then we'll delve into the discussions. Once again, issue, you're welcome. Righty, welcome back. This is The Big Issue. My name is Selim Adunu. Two key issues on the table. The Galamsey matter, which we've been dealing with for weeks now. We will not stop until we see improvement in our water bodies. Now, government has recommissioned Operation Halt. Boots have been deployed to the ground, this one in the waters. And a number of things have also been promised. The revocation of LI, the LI we've been talking about. They say that on the 15th of October, Parliament will reconvene, and they will do that in Parliament. We want to even understand that process on this show today, so we will do that. Also, some aspects of labor, UTAG, etc., are not happy with the stance taken by organized labor. Organized labor suspended its nationwide strike because they feel that government had met them halfway and government had made some promises to them. We'll look at all of that and see what it is. Also, the NDC has been raising some issues with the printing of ballot papers and notice of polls. They say that they don't think that should come before the finalization of the register. We'll try and understand the position properly and see what we can do about that. But in the meantime, the week began with organized labor expressing dissatisfaction with President Akufo-Addo's proposals on illegal mining, while announcing plans to proceed with industrial action set for Thursday, October 10. However, in what can be described as an anticlimax, organized labor reversed its decision to strike, choosing instead to monitor the government's efforts to combat illegal mining in river bodies and forest reserves. This reversal followed some internal dissent, with groups such as the Ghana Medical Association distancing themselves from the planned October 10 strike, even though they said they were in solidarity with the fight against Galamsey. While organized labor has suspended the strike, the University Teachers Association of Ghana is proceeding with this industrial action. ChannelOne News, or ChannelOne TV's Kennedy Chumesi has more in this report.
Following hours of discussions, organized labor announced its decision to suspend the strike, citing the government's renewed commitment to tackling the illegal mining crisis. Among the assurances provided by the government were plans to revoke the 2022 Environment Protection Regulations and appoint representatives from labor to a stakeholders committee to address illegal mining. Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Joshua Ansah, noted during a press briefing that the suspension would allow labor to ensure that the government follow through on these pledges.
His Excellency the President has directed the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources to submit a memorandum for the revocation.
Hello, please come. Ken is trying to get at somebody from organized labor, so come quickly. Come, let me see.
These are significant concessions that organized labor demands and threats have forced government to make towards combating illegal mining. That's Galam say in Ghana. Comrades, organized labor has therefore decided to suspend the internet strike action. We are calling all workers to report for work on 10th of October 2024 and beyond. Organized labor will keenly monitor the implementation of these measures which government has made, and government will hear from us if it fails to do the needful.
Despite this, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, voiced disappointment over Labour's decision to suspend the strike.
Must we, by all means, do things to support a government's position, even if we are dying as a people? We are saying that if the government is serious, if the president is serious, at least let there be a temporary suspension, not even ban. If you can ban, let people know that we are suspending, and then these are the interventions that we are putting in place so that people will know that we are serious. The 16 public universities have all voted unanimously and overwhelmingly to say that they want to go on an industrial action. And we don't care about what disorganized labor wants to do. We would be the conscience of Ghana. We will defend Ghanaians and we will ensure that we defeat this fight. We will defeat this existential threat that confronts all of us. If disorganized labor would not want to do it, we will do it.
On the other hand, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association expressed support for the suspension, stating it was in the best interest of the public.
Well, I cannot speak for anybody. We all came to this meeting at 2 o'clock and we sat through the meeting. We all made submissions, there were responses, and we got to a point where we had to call in the media. So if people still have difficulties, I think they should have expressed it within the meeting before the media came in. So as far as I'm concerned, we reached a point where it was appropriate for the leadership to read out whatever it is that was to be communicated to the media.
All right, so meanwhile, in response to government's directive to remove all mining activities from river bodies, the Operation Halt Task Force has been actively engaged. To date, more than 45 pieces of equipment have been destroyed. The operation is scheduled to continue for 2 weeks, after which the team will await further instructions. Fred Duho provides coverage on this operation.
It is 3 a.m. on a wet Thursday, the first day of Operation Halt. Military men of various ranks, youthful and determined to contribute their service to Ghana, prepare for their mission. As men ready for battle, they drive for hours from Accra to the eastern region. Fall in is the jargon used to get the men in line. At this assembly, Colonel Eric Tinedu gave clear orders and explained the objective of the mission. Back in their tracks, a long journey into the bush began, navigating rough terrain, rugged roads.
Yeah, this is the guns. Yeah, this thing is. Yeah. Oh, how? But what is oh how? That's a feat.
finally arriving at the bank of the heavily polluted Brim River. Etiwa East and West share boundaries, and the Brim River is a common source of water and a border between them. The Anti-Illegal Mining Task Force, Operation HALT, deployed by the government, destroyed approximately 20 chamfans and 10 industrial water pumping machines on the Brim River. The task force launched its operations on the morning of October 10, 2024 in the Etiwa East and West districts of the Eastern region.
These officers are going to swim across this river. They've spotted a chamfan on the water and they are carrying a hammer that they are going to use to destroy the chamfan. But how to get there is one of the things they've done over the period, and they are used to it. So they're going to swim all the way to that end before they get close to the chamfan to destroy it.
Speaking to the media, Operations HALT Commander Colonel Eric Tinedu expressed optimism about the effectiveness of the exercise.
The Joint Task Force has a clear and unambiguous mission of clearing all our water bodies of mining activities. And at this time, we are not looking at whether the person has the required documents or not. So far as you are on our water bodies or you are along the water bodies, you are our target. We are trying to clear all of them from our water bodies to make sure that our water bodies return to the normal color that we are all looking for.
He explained that the first phase of the operation would last for 2 weeks. Colonel Tinedu emphasized the directive to ban chamfans on water bodies and added that forest reserves and other illegal mining hotspots will be targeted in subsequent phases of the operation.
So the immediate assignment is estimated to last for about 2 weeks. Then after that, we'll know what to do next, or depending on the instructions and the directives that we'll receive after that one.
Are you surprised that going to about 3 or 4 sites so far, you've not seen illegal miners doing active mining? Are you surprised about that?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, because one way or the other, they get the information that we are coming. But then sometimes, before we disembark, we see some of them trying to run, and we pursue them. Just that we've not been able to arrest any of them, but we've been able to destroy some of the equipment.
This is a typical mining concession where the owners are using sophisticated machines to mine, and they've been able to dig deep to fetch the laterites, which they are going to sift through and then get the gold ore that will be used probably for whatever purpose. But it is quite interesting to note that around this entire area there are cocoa farms. So this particular mining site is within a cocoa farm. He has actually installed CCTV cameras all around this place to monitor his activities, and we've counted about less than 6 excavators around the site that are doing the digging, and there are other machines down there that are pumping and washing the ore that is gotten from this particular mining concession.
The exercise was carried out in collaboration with the Ghana National Small-Scale Miners Association. No arrests were made as illegal miners abandoned their operations upon learning of the military's presence. On day 2 of the exercise, the Operations HALT team moved to the central region. A locally manufactured pistol was seized.
So far, we have been able to destroy 10 chamfan, and then some water pumping machines, a number of them, about 7 of them. And then we have been able to seize 1 single barrel weapon, locally manufactured, and a BB cartridge and then a set of mechanic tools. We have seized all these things, and we have bent some holes, the holes that they are using to take the water from the river and wash back to the river. We've gathered all the holes and we've bent everything, and currently we are preparing to move to another area. When we go to the site, they are the escape. Then these are some of the items that we picked from the site. Yes, for military operations, usually, if you achieve success, surprise should be the leading role. And so that is the reason we are here today. I'm unable to tell you where we are moving next, but then I can assure you that we are visiting all the major water bodies in the country. And so they should all be prepared for us. They will surely see us, but as to when, I cannot tell.
All right, so you saw that report. My guest this morning, Dr. Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe, convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Enoch Afuakwa, member of the MPP Communications team, Professor Eric Abavari, President of Utah KNUST, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, Kofi Adams, MP for Boehm, Clement Akapam, Senior Lecturer, GIMPA, Faculty of Law. These are my guests this morning. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I started with you, Ken. You have been on this for a long time together with us here at CTFM and ChannelOne television. The week has been quite eventful. I mean, the week before and this one. Give me your general thoughts on how the week has been. People think that the labor's action, organized labor's action, was an anticlimax to the whole thing. Were you really expecting the strike, or you felt that some intervention was going to come somewhere in the middle and we would see what we saw from organized labor?
Well, you know, organized labor are part of the 10 blocks that sit on the Ghana coalition against Galam. And so we've been talking to them, you know, we've been discussing this process. And so we were told, I think that I even picked that information on one of your sister stations, that there had been a meeting that had been done with them. But we were very clear in our minds that there were asks that we have asked of government. And the fact that if government had made a proposal which organized labor had said, and the coalition had said that fell short of what was required to be able to deal with the demands that we had put on the table. And so our hope was that if government was meeting, we had heard government was meeting to try and see how they meet the demand. So our hope was that that demand was going to be met before, if there was any change in the actions that were intended, it is done. But as you saw from our press statement, that's the Ghana Coalition, there are two major demands that have been left met: the declaration of the state of emergency, the complete cessation of mining the forest reserves and the water bodies, the evacuation of the mining equipment. I'm sure we'll get into details on all of that. But so when organized labor, you know, based on the same thing that they had rejected, then were talking about suspending the action, that really was not what we had intended. But you know, organized labor are an autonomous group in the coalition. So in as much as we would want to carry them out, you know, together with us, when they decided to go the way they were going, we were focused. So we issued our statement. But so the things that needed to be done. But we also need to also realize the fact that at least government has moved from the will and the wood that was in the comment to now seeing some actions that are being taken. But, you know, I'm sure when we get into the details, we'll discuss some of them. And so we started on the 10th, though we all had agreed we're going to start the Red Band campaign. We then, on the 10th, moved into the Red Band campaign. And so, because at that point, our focus is that the things that are left done, His Excellency the President should do them. The things that they have committed to doing, they should, you know, push and do it. Also, one of the fifth demand for us as the coalition was the fact that we needed the NDC, the MPP, presidential candidate, and most importantly, their parliamentary candidates in these mining areas to also declare support for the fight. Because what is going to happen is that either John Mahama or Mahmoud Bawumia are going to be president on the 7th of January 2025. So we needed them to commit today and make sure that once we get into January 7th, the actions that we're taking continues. So that was an important part. And then I'm happy that the Catholic Church also went ahead with their prayer protest yesterday. And we're beginning to see some signs, but there's still a lot more that we need to do. So that's why I'm happy today. You are still wearing your red band. I'm wearing my red band. Yes. I'm even doing more than red band. I'm actually going back to what we wore in 2017 and 2018.
We need Enoch and Kofi to also join in the red.
I'm doing a black band.
No, we don't need black band. We want red.
I'm doing a black.
So I think it's been a very eventful week. But I think all of us need to realize as a country that this is an existential threat that faces all of us. And let me just add, we've written to the Ghana Water Company asking them to declare explicitly that the water that they are producing for us at all treatment plants are wholesome. Because you see, when you've done chlorination, when you have used polymer that is used in treating wastewater to treat our water and it's clear, it doesn't mean it is clean. So we need them to really tell us that the trace metals, the heavy metals are at levels that are acceptable to the WHO and it's good for us. And we've also written to the FDA and the Ghana Standards Authority to make sure that there's a validation of whatever claims that Ghana Water is going to make. So all of us are sitting on this table. Most of the water we drink, most of the water we bath, the food we eat, the fish we eat, we don't know where they are coming from. So we are all heavily at risk.
Very well. So that's Dr. Engineer Kash Enoch. Enoch, let me come to you. Did government have to wait for the organized labor's threat to get to the point, a day to the declaration of the strike, for government to put something, quote unquote, meaningful on the table? Didn't government see the signs? And the accusation has been that government has not really, government has slept on the job in respect of this Galamsey menace. It didn't start in your time. It's been something we've been dealing with for years. But we've seen the exacerbation of our resources, water bodies especially, in your time. And the man in charge should take charge, but we've not seen that really. Did he have to take, organized labor to do this before government will put something on the table?
Salam, let me say a very good morning to yourself and to my senior members on this platform, Dr. Kash Enoch, Honorable Kofi Adams. And also use your big platform to extend the greetings of His Excellency the Vice President, who is also the President in waiting of the Republic of Ghana, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. To your cherished listeners and viewers. He's on his campaign tour, canvassing for support. And I believe that I'll come to why I'm greeting Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because I am from a mining community. And I believe that as far as election 2024 is concerned, and the existential threat that we have on our neck now that we are all confronting them today, the issue of illegal mining and its environmental decadedness. The political party or the presidential candidate has shown interests as far as policy-driven directions are concerned to be able to curtail this menace and nib it in the back is that of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I'll come to why I am saying that I support and second the policy proposal from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, not because I'm coming from the New Patriotic Party, but I am also a Ghanaian. And I believe that living with miners, both large-scale and small-scale miners, and knowing the levels of interest and what they need to be able to nib the issues in the back, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has really nailed it harder in his manifesto promises. And we believe that once we are able to expand and discuss those matters, we'll all come to realization that that is the way to go. And I believe the people of Ghana will buy into the policy direction of Dr. Bawumia and give him the mandate to lead this country as president come 2025, January 7th.
Now deal with the matter for me. Did they have to come to this point? Government, I'm sure, the president and the national security minister, they have more information than anybody in this country. If we sitting here can see the water bodies turning brown, of course, Ghana Water Company had to say that the turbidity levels had gone to 14,000. When the assistants, for example, were built for 2,000 and they had to reduce it to like 5 NTU, and we had 14,000. The national security minister should have known this way before. President obviously should have known this, but it did appear nobody cared until organized labor, until the coalition, until civil society, well-meaning people rose before we're seeing these, actions being tabled. That many have described as irresponsible governance.
It cannot be said to be irresponsible governance. So, the issue of the fighting illegal mining, the issue of illegal mining has been on our neck. It even precedes my birth on earth. And when you want to go through the etymology of the fight against illegal mining, all successive governments in the prior to the Fourth Republic, President Rawlings in the PNDC era in 1989 fought against this menace. That was the first nationwide fight against illegal mining, occurred in the late 1980s. In 2006, sometime in November 2006, President Kufuor started Operation Flashout. In 2013, President Mahama established the Interministerial Task Force to fight against illegal mining, and the focus was on foreigners involved in illegal mining in Ghana. In 2017, through the concerted effort, a society-centered approach to governance, the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, in March 2017, I remember, started a broad-based activism against the menace of illegal mining. The government of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo was barely 3 months or 4 months in office. He committed to the fight against illegal mining, placed a moratorium on all forms of small-scale mining in Ghana, extended the ban or the moratorium on all forms of small-scale mining in Ghana almost about 2 years, with some consultations, dialogues, and a whole lot of activities. Alternative livelihood projects, MMIP, and those kind of things, training at the University of Mines and Technology for these miners, and a whole lot of activities took place in this fight. Again, the renewed fight again with Operation Vanguard, Galam Stop, and all that you can think about. In 2021 again, Dr. Kash Enoch is here. Operation Halt 1, Halt 2, and all this renewed fight against Galamsey started. And I have committed, and I have always maintained that this fight, although it is timely, although we need it now, it's still clearly unsustainable in the fight against illegal mining that we are talking about. Because with all this renewed fight, with all the use of force, with all the convictions, almost about 1,000 people are serving jail terms in our various prisons and the like, but it has not stopped the issue of illegal mining. So the activities of government, as far as the fight against illegal mining is concerned, cannot be said that because there has been a renewed effort, because there has been a renewed
I'm not sure about 1,000 people serving jail terms. So
I said almost about.
No, but almost about means it should be close to.
Absolutely.
But it's not.
We can take the statistics from the Attorney General's office or from the prison service.
The Attorney General said that, about 179 people or so. But I'll dig up the numbers. But
if you want to even put them in totality, those who have finished serving their terms, their jail terms, and those kind of things, we have a lot more people who have served jail terms as far as their involvement in illegal mining are concerned in this country. And so certainly the numbers will even be lesser as far as that is concerned. So with all these things, we are still where we are as a people. We go forward and we come back. We go forward and we come back. Doesn't mean that the people in charge are not doing their bit that we are supposed to do. And I believe clearly that it will be disingenuous for us to say that the president did not do anything as far as the fight against illegal mining.
But we measure outcomes, not efforts. I mean, results are what we reward, not efforts. So you may have put in a lot of effort, but if the results are not showing, then it means you're not doing it right. And what's the point in putting a 2-year moratorium on an activity only to destroy it later? You ban it, things are getting better, then for some reason you go back to sleep and the situation festers and even becomes worse because you've given us a timeline of how we've been fighting Galamsey since the 80s, but the situation was not as bad as we have today. So if you are the man in charge when the situation is this bad, your thinking should be radically different and more advanced than those who were trying to solve it in the past and could not solve it. But if you rather appear to be sleeping on the job, then that is a problem, is it not?
It cannot be said that it appears he's sleeping. He's seen to be sleeping.
Have we heard the president speak on this in the last 2 months? When the fight, I mean, everybody, even Catholic bishops of all people, they were on the street. They were on the streets. That's unprecedented. They were on the streets. But the president, in whom executive power is being reposed or given, it's not spoken. He was at the GBA. I was at the GBA conference. Yabuafu. Fantastic speech. The president was sitting there. He never gave a word. He rather chose to respond to Yabuafu's issues about free SHS. DJ Awards night. The president was seated there. The GJ president, poignant speech, addressing the issues as the people want. The president rather was angry with him in that video we saw, throwing his hands here and there. I mean, he went to the stage to talk, an opportunity to speak to Ghana people. Zero. How will you convince me that this president cares about the people in the villages, people who are giving birth to deformed children as a result of Galamsey, the contaminated water and soil, etc.? Does he care at all? Or he thinks that the next government should deal with it? What is his thinking? What is he thinking about?
The president has not checked out.
But are you using a step checker? I haven't said check that.
The president has not checked out. The president is in charge of the republic. He is still the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. It is the president that has renewed the fight against illegal mining. Currently, you were showing to your viewers the current operation halt activities ongoing in the part of the eastern region and that of the central region. We also saw the footages on it. If the president is careless or the president is not mindful of the events of illegal mining activity, he wouldn't have released the military as a result. And we should commend all stakeholders who are advocating and who are involved in it. It shows the might of the people of Ghana, that this is a society-centered approach to democracy. Social accountability must come from the people. People must be involved in the governance of this country. It should not be politicians and it should not be leaders alone. That is why we say it is democratic. You say and I say, then we come out with a common purpose and a common vision. Then we all we all work together as a people. So if the Catholic bishops are on the street, or if the Catholic bishops are doing an environmental prayer walk or whatsoever, to be able to address the grievances or the challenge that we have as a people, it is commendable. We must commend them in that state, because this is the democratic tenet that we have adopted to ourselves as a people, as a country, and we are all using the tools of democracy to be able to run the affairs of this country. But, Selo, I have maintained that this president is committed to the fight against illegal mining. And in the Fourth Republic, he is the president that has shown the highest form of political will in the fight against illegal mining. Look at the number of military interventions that he has sanctioned in his tenure of office in the last 7 years. Which president in the Fourth Republic has ever sanctioned this number of military operations in the fight against illegal mining? And mind you, that the Ghanaian has a hidden expertise as far as mining is concerned. Ghanaians are exposed to the wealth in this sector, and now it is becoming more complex that we must confront them together as a people. We must desist from discussing this politically, using political interfaces and political measures, and confront this matter as a nation. The moment we begin to bring in the political subject of it, we continue to fail as a country.
Very well. I have a different view on the political nature of it, but I'm sure we'll delve into that. I want to move from you, but let me press you further. Every presidency has what defines it. Mahama was defined by Dumso. Nanado, obviously, is being defined by Galamsey. So if you tell me that he's a president who has fought most Galamsey, I won't argue with you. But the question I will ask is, what has been the result? Has it fixed it? Mahama was defined by Galamsey. Presidencies are, sorry, Dumso. And we say it every time. Okay, we say it every time that in Mahama's time we saw Dumso. In Nanado's time, and it didn't mean Dumso didn't exist before in Rawlins's time or Kufuor's time or Mills's time. It was there. But it got to its peak. It got to a head in his time. So perhaps he suffered for it, or perhaps he solved it. I don't know.
And add that he solved it.
But now
clearly, because he solved it.
So he made some interventions, right? Here we are. Galamsey has been there, like you said. It has defined his presidency. And like we saw in Mohammed's time, you know, getting thermal plants, etc., PPAs in place, etc. We need to see something concrete that this president is doing, and not silence. That is the worry of Ghanaians. It's not about whether he's doing something about it or not. It is about whether what he's doing is tokenism or it is really solving the problem. That if we get a picture like that, I think the conversation will change. So to say every president is defined by something. His is Galamsey. If he wants to go in history as the one under whom Galamsey thrived the most, that's up to him.
It cannot be said that President Akufo-Addo will be defined as the president in whose regime Galamsey thrived the most. It cannot. It cannot. That is why I said the media coalition against illegal mining. Dr. Ken Ashibe is here. How many months old of the President Akufo-Addo's regime did the media coalition against Galamsey start? Barely 3 months or 4 months in his regime. He had even barely formed his cabinet. Dr. Ken Ashibe is here. Let's be honest. What did he inherit? Why was a broad-based activism, an energized broad-based activism, commissioned prior to his formation of his cabinet? It means that what he inherited was very bad, the peak of it. If you want us to go into the history, in 2013, the reports suggest that over 1,000 Chinese miners were deported from this country. What were they doing in this country as a result of illegal mining? The national security threats and those kind of things. Check the records. I can read to you some of the headlines from Ghana Water and those kind of things as a result of TBT levels at that time, they heightened. So the belief was that media coalition against Galamsey sought the energy in President Akufo-Addo and then came out within his reign of government that Charlie, this man will be able to help us sustain this fight and we're able to nib it in the back. So it means that there was something there that culminated.
There was goodwill.
That culminated in the broad-based media activism against illegal mining. So the fact that the media was not so loud, the broad-based activism against illegal mining was not so much heightened and intense during the presidency of the former president Mahama, cannot be said that his presidency cannot be defined by illegal mining or Galamsey.
Very well. Kofi, no, but I've not asked my question.
Why are you asking questions? I thought you said you are giving us time to end. You.
I'll take it from his time. 2 minutes. I'll take it from his time. Does the NDC support the fight against Galamsey?
Well, the NDC, as a political party that have had the opportunity to be in government, has shown responsibility in dealing with every environmental issue. And that is so clear. But even before I proceed, let me use this opportunity to greet my co-panelists here and also your lovely viewers out there. Look, if a mother is feeding the child appropriately, that child will not cry because of food or because of hunger. It is only when a child has to cry to draw attention that I am hungry that the child will cry, because the mother is not doing what is expected of it. This government has totally failed, and it is not only the media that have to now engage. The Catholic Church have to now do an environmental prayer demonstration. That is where we have gotten to. It's a total failure. And it didn't start today. You have a government whose policy, whose intentions, whose mind is no different from the small boy that is hired to involved in Galamsey. What did Yawasa Fomafo say as senior minister? When Aisha Wang, someone labeled as Galamsey Queen, Kingpin, was arrested, what did he say? He said, government intention, there was no benefit to government in prosecuting such a person. So what happened?
She was deported.
So what happened? Didn't she come back? You think if she was prosecuted, they took the fight to a level that it should be taken and prosecuted, will she have the audacity, the temerity to come back? So, right from the word go, the government was not committed. Right from the word go.
Placing a 2-year moratorium on the sector.
But you know that the 2-year moratorium was not intended to fight the Galamsey. It was intended for them to take over. And that was why you could see right from videos and audios that came out some time back. What did they say? They say, party yeden hiyaska. Party hiyaska. The party have to sponsor Galamsey. That's the first time I was hearing officially political party being involved and officials being involved in Galamsey because party hiyaska. Were we not told, and on your platform, I believe so, by Professor Frimpong Boating, that in the presence of the president and in the presence of late Sir John, he indicated how he has been a threat.
As Sir John had been a threat to the fight.
To fight against Galamsey. What did the president do? Didn't the man stay in office till he passed on? And is this a man who is committed to fighting Galamsey? Professor Frimpong Boating is still alive. And the report is there. So clearly there was no intention to fight Galamsey. Especially what goes on in water bodies, in forest reserves, and farmlands. All these sectors has clearly been threatened because there's no commitment. They talk. Today they are telling you they are greeting Bawumia because he has policies. But you see, I have told Ghanaians never to waste their time to listen to what comes out from Baumia's mouth. Because he means not what he says. Baumia means not what he says. Baumia will deceive you. He has deceived many persons. You remember the issue of constructing concrete roads.
But that was a promise.
I'm saying that you remember the issue of a policy that cabinet has met, they have taken a decision, and he announced it at Lighthouse Chapel. That they are taking a decision, and from next week on, they are going to commence the matter of what? Concrete road construction. Show me any concrete road that this government has done.
Oh, let me show you one. Let me show you one.
The Tema one. They didn't do it.
Who did it?
Government didn't do it. It is the companies that are in that area who got themselves involved. It wasn't the. Oh, I'm saying that. Look, I live in Tema. I live in Tema.
I'm showing you the DVLA route.
How long is that?
Is it a traffic light?
That is.
What traffic light is
that? It's about.
TT Brothers traffic light.
A kilometer and a half.
TT Brothers traffic light.
I'm saying it's about a kilometer and a half. The companies that are there, realizing the level of deterioration, put themselves together. He only went there to commission it. He only went there to commission it. Please, get your facts right. I lived in Tema, and I know companies that are there that have engaged with their chief executives. Look, this was the same man who also indicated that you don't need to borrow, okay, to build roads. All you need to do is to contract the roads and toll them. Today, what has happened to our toll? In Ghana here, even roads that were being tolled, now they've stopped tolling in the name of what? E-levy. So when Baumia talks, and people come to repeat what he says, that he's talking policy, that he means to do later, know that he's just deceiving you as he's done in the past. So I don't take Baumia's talk serious. I don't at all. I would never accept what Baumia says because he's just talking for purposes of convenience without any principled position. I think that this government...
We've not seen the NDCs...
The NDC have been very clear.
To solve the problem. To lend government support even. As this government is empowered to solve it.
You remember in 2013, the administration of John Mahama, having been confronted with some issues, decided to have what we call the Senche meeting to come out with programs that could help deal with that situation. This same year, Osafo had mentioned had committed to attend. A couple of them had committed to attend. The MPP indicated clearly in just the first year of John Mahama's administration that they were withdrawing. Not in the final year, in the first year, 2030, that they were withdrawing from that engagement. They made sure Yawo Safomafo, who had committed to attend, withdrew. It was only Kwame Pienim, who I will describe from the MPP stall, who attended that program.
What was the point?
The point I'm trying to make is that they saw then that it was the responsibility of government and the party in government to deal with situations that confront the state. And they had no business participating, even in 2013.
So you are returning the favor?
We are not returning. We are not returning even the favor. What we are saying is that you cannot be holding NDC. That is not in government. The NDC, that is not responsible for appointing the commander of the Ghana Armed Forces. The NDC's leader is not the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. The NDC leader is not the chairman of Police Council. The NDC leader doesn't appoint ministers responsible for lands and natural resources. The NDC leader doesn't appoint the CEO of Minerals Commissions, the Forestry Commissions, and what have you, those who are in cahoot to help destroy our environment and water bodies. We don't appoint all these persons. You see, the reason we have failed in this fight and we have encouraged the MPP and this administration to continue to do what they do is the tacit, directly and indirectly, trying to make it look like in fighting these menace, don't talk about leadership. Immediately you try talking about leadership, they say you are making it partisan. But it is the leadership that have failed. And we have accepted as a nation to engage in multi-party democracy out of which our executive arm gets elected. That is what we have accepted as a country. So the president was elected on a party ticket. He's the leader, he's the chief executive together with his vice president. And when they are failing and you question them, then we allowed their supporters to turn the matter as if you speaking partisan. We must agree that when people have a responsibility placed on them, we hold them directly responsible. And we must hold Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia responsible for their failings. Because if you have the mandate to appoint these persons and you are not seeing results, and those same persons stay in office, and like the example I've given you earlier, where one of your appointees, that the day you were announcing his appointment, the accolades that were said of Professor Frimpong Boateng, I wish you could play back the tape, the video. Then you form a committee to deal with that situation and makes him a chair. And he comes before you and tells you that this person, this your appointee, is a threat to the fight. And you do nothing to that person. He stays on. Then you come to tell me that this is a government that is committed to fighting Galamsey. You have a vice president who is lucky to chair the police council with its responsibility to deal with policies and programs that fights crime. And then you have a situation where Galamsey happens just behind a police station and what have you. And then you tell me that we should be looking into what he says he will do in future, when he has the power and the authority now to be able to deal with the situation now. So they tell me, drink all the cyanide-infested water, drink all the lead-infested water, drink all the water that is so damaged, and get all the sicknesses that you have to get now, and wait till tomorrow. We cannot wait till tomorrow. We must see action now and not talk. That is what we want. People who are not in position can talk, can say, I will do this, but not people who have a responsibility, and I'm happy that you use the idea of Dumso, that Dumso predate John Mahama. President Rawlings saw it. There were push for us to begin to have alternative source of power, and that was why Temal was introduced. Then President Kufuor's time it came. We had some men of God who went to Akosombo to go and pray, and Dr. Charles Riku Broby indicated that some generators that were bought were toys, and so on and so forth. It narrowly came under Professor Mills. Then it head on under John Dramani Mahama, and he confronted it, dealt with it to the point that by the time this current administration took over in 2017, they said we have given them excess power.
Very well.
That was their major complaint, and that was no more a problem. So clearly, I think that the government has failed, and we must tell them in the face.
Very well. Franklin, welcome to the program. Have we made progress the last 2 weeks? Will you describe what we have seen as any progress at all? Government has placed a few things on the table. Is that progress?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Morning, everyone. I don't know.
Frankly, I think we're having some feedback in your connection. Yes, some feedback. All right, just hang in there. Hang in there. I'll come back to you, frankly. Let me deal with your colleague, Dr. Kanashibe. All right, Ken, you said the coalition wanted some major things: declaration of state of emergency, complete cessation of mining, etc., evacuation of the equipment, and then presidential candidates declaring support for the fight, etc. Evacuation of some equipment. We saw 2 days ago and yesterday that a number of equipment were being burnt. I don't know whether that you equate to evacuation. They were being destroyed. Evacuation means you take them from there to wherever. I don't know whether you say some action or some activity is being done. In terms of the declaration of the state of emergency, I don't think organized labor and perhaps the coalition and all of us have been clear enough on it. What form should it take? Okay. Curfew, what form should it take in those communities? And I want you to also juxtapose what you may say are the outstanding issues against what we are seeing now. Complete cessation, which means that now that the military is on the water bodies, obviously activities of illegal miners will cease. So that's some cessation. Evacuation, they are burning the things. Declaration of state of emergency, we are not so clear. So deal with those for me.
Okay, so thank you. So again, so when you talk about the, let me start first even with what seemed to be making progress. The revocation of LI 2264. So you should bear in mind that under this obnoxious law, which the NDC, I'm sure Kofi was in parliament, when that LI was laid, and the MPP sat and allowed that to mature in 21 days. They have granted permits for under that LI that currently is subsisting, but we hear have been suspended. So those permits have to be revoked. So His Excellency the President has to issue an EI revoking those permits. Then also currently, because of the suspension, I know for a fact that the EPA has not given permits, EPA permits to these people. So it is important that the EPA takes the information that the President has asked that they should issue that memo, that LI should be suspended, so the EPA, no authority again under the state should be acting on that particular one. So it would have been good for organized labor. And again, this, we need to realize that organized labor joined this fight very late. So some of these nuances, they might not have been, privy to it. But it is important that in asking for it, they should have gone to ask for it. Now let's come to the state of emergency. For us, the coalition, when we declared, we're very clear that it was supposed to be on the water bodies. It was supposed to be on the buffers of the water bodies. And then it's also supposed to be, in the forest reserves. So if you issue that, then it means that immediately that becomes a no-go area for anybody at all. So anybody who is found in those spaces, you can deal with. But now you have the situation where the military are doing this sectorially. So as we speak, if you go into Sefi in Toronto, the community are planning to engage some, Galam sayers because they are there working. In Chebi, there's also a team there whose activities are polluting the Densu. And in other forest reserves, people are still there eating because a state of emergency has not been declared. So now you're just waiting for the military to get into those positions. So because you do that, it will not be effective. The same way the military is able to move, the same way these Galamseyers are also able to move. Bear in mind that the Eastern Regional Minister, in the company of about 30 task forces, went to a particular place where there were about 400 Galamseyers, and they had to retreat. So what you are dealing with is not one of the things that for me, 100 military, when I looked at the picture, I don't know whether it was only the army that were involved. At this stage, you are hoping that once the state of emergency is declared, you would unleash the Air Force so that they can fly sorties over some of these areas and do a multi-pronged approach so that it's not only in one place. Then you also get the Navy so that they get into the water. You get the Army, and you see what they're doing is evacuation. The bad part is like an iceberg of the chamfant. It's the metal that is at the bottom. They will fix the top of those elements with about 8,000 cedis. Any of those things they burn, they will be able to fix them back. And while we're burning the excavators, there are VIN numbers on those excavators. You can trace them back to the people who imported that. Who did they rent them out to? So that once you do that, you then can, you see, we need to, again, my colleague was talking about, yes, the evidence that you're going to use. My colleague was talking about the fact that there are about 1,000 people arrested. Where is Akunta Mine? Who the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources? Where there's a report from Forestry Commission indicting them of being involved in a criminality. Where are they? They have not been arrested. Heritage Imperial. Again, and I mentioned the names. I mentioned Heritage Imperial to the Deputy Minister Abrekuduka on a particular program. The Heritage Imperial had been given, they did not have an EPA permit, but they were mining. They actually had the impudence to go to court and put in their court documents against Erasmus that they are mining operations. These are people who have incriminated themselves. But where are they? So when you don't arrest these major people, the financiers of this particular crime, this is going to continue. So it is important that in terms of removing this equipment in, we get the military with cranes and then also amphibian equipment that will be able to go close to these river bodies and take this equipment out. And then when you do that as well, you see, the Minerals and Mining Act, the Chamfans, it proscribes it. So anybody who is manufacturing it, anybody who is transporting it, and we have all of these CCTV cameras that the government has put, so you would be able to tell who they are. And it is very critical that this, and I think the Colonel mentioned it, that this particular fight is fought with intelligence. So, you see, if you don't add the element of surprise, and if you don't add the element of intelligence, where you find ways of linking the people with the people who are involved in this particular fight, you would go and you would not be able to recover it. So, it is very important. And so, I was happy when they said a pistol has been seized. So, how come we seized the pistol and no one person has been arrested?
Maybe it was left somewhere.
Then you didn't seize it. Then you found it.
You found it.
You know, but if it's been seized, that means you took it from somebody. And that person should be arrested. And we should be able to link that to those who are involved in it. Then again, the whole issue, when Kofi also talks about the fact that there was a takeover. There was a takeover from who? So I think the point has to be made.
No, I think the point is making was like they brought a ban so that they will take over.
Oh, so
the
but let me give you also the facts. When we started this fight in 20s, and again, it's important to note that City FM started this fight in 2016. That is when City FM started the fight. Who was in power then? The NDC was in power. So if you look again at the stability figures, and the reason why we all jumped into it and then everybody supported it was that the stability figures rule. So that point has to be made. But the responsibility to act on it now is the responsibility of the current president. And bear in mind, in 2016, the current president who was then the opposition leader, was in Obuasi, denying the fact that, you know, they said that if he comes, he's coming to ban Galam. That is not true. 2016. Then fast forward to 2020. There was Kweku Bwine, who was in the theater of a crime. And that crime, it's still a crime. By now he should be arrested. But you see the MPP, they've also not arrested him. He was actually in the theater of a crime, emboldening people to continue the crime. This is where the partisan nature of the fight destroys it. Then fast forward and come to 2024. Now you have an MPP parliamentary candidate sitting with an MPP, the Western Regional Minister, telling Galamseyers that they had stopped all military actions. So again, when you see the statement that is made that additional forces, when the MPP presidential candidate said they had stopped, well, it was not an additional force. Operation Halt, we are starting it. Because if we are to believe the fact that the MPP, the Western Regional Minister, did not counter what the man said. And then the criminal part of it was that he said that if they come accosting them, they should attack them and they should call them. And this MPP presidential parliamentary candidate, nothing has happened to him. He's still there. We've also had
parliamentary candidate.
Parliamentary candidate. We've also had the NDC presidential candidate talk about amnesty for people who have been involved in a crime. You would have hoped that, yes, the point he makes that the kingpins have not been arrested. The signal you will send when your water turbidity level is at 14,000 is not to tell people that you're going to grant an amnesty. You are supposed to say that you get those kingpins and add it to them. Then you come back again and then you see an MP, somebody who's supposed to be a doctor. An MP, current, also now tell us that they won't stop today, they won't stop tomorrow. Something that is causing renal diseases to go on that. It is the reason why that fifth point that we make is so important. So to tell Kofi, we are not saying we have to hold the current president ultimately responsible for what is happening. But it is important because of what has happened with the partisan nature of the fight, it is important that the NDC presidential candidate and the MPP presidential candidate support these, I call them draconian, because we need to take the efforts that are being made and the extra efforts that have to be made. We need their tacit, open support so that all the criminals who are involved in this, and some of them we are told are foreigners, get the message that as a country, if you go to Ukraine now, you think they don't have political parties. But they are all united against this fight of Russia. And that's what we need. Because you see, interestingly, John Mahama or Bawumia on the 7th would have to continue this fight. And then the bad part of it, and I don't know whether ChannelOne and City, you have that video. There are videos around of some of active people who are in active partisan campaigning, still going around and saying that they would get people to return. And that one, it is so important that we condemn everybody, whether you are MPP, you are NDC, you are any other party. We need to be absolute in that. And I call the IGP, that anybody who is encouraging anybody to engage in it, we should stop this thing. That once the person says it's MPP, it's NDC, then we leave the people. We should go after them. If it was Kenneth Ashigbe saying it, please come after me and make sure you arrest me. So there are a few videos. I've sent them to Jude. It will be important that we play them and we say to these people, we are not going to countenance that. We are pushing to make sure that the current president who is responsible take actions today and now. But we are not going to get anybody also trying to pull us back, going to sit in these communities and telling them. Because the thing they should bear in mind, they keep on throwing this number that there are about 1,000. You know, about 1 million of them involved in this. The million are not even, small-scale miners who are doing responsible mining are not part of it. The illegal miners cannot be it. And so we need to tell them that there are more of us. The thing we have not done in the past, which we are going to do, we're going to now start showing you the 6-legged child who was born without genitalia, you know, who died. When the post-mortem was done, the bone marrow was tested, the level of, toxicity that was in it. We're going to start showing you 2 boys who are in Bekwai currently as we speak, who, because they are the people who burn the mercury amalgam, you know, and so because of the mercury poison, they heal them. Currently, even putting food in their mouth, they cannot do it. So we're going to start showing you these ones. We're going to start showing you people, you know, some of the things they do. Some of them even kill their own children for blood ritual just to do this. And we're going to follow up with the IGP, because there was one case that happened somewhere in the Seshi area where it had to take a pathologist to prevent them from burying that baby. And then when the pathologist left, the child was buried. It took the IGP to get the child exhumed. And the facts of it shows clearly that that baby was killed. And it was because of ritual methods for this. So the social implications of the challenges that are happening with this, we're not beginning to appreciate it. So it is a crisis of existential proportions, and we need to mobilize all of Ghana. So I played with Kofi, I played with my colleague, that this is not the time for anybody to start doing partisan politics with this. You don't know the water you're drinking. You don't know the food you're eating. So we all need to all coalesce around this thing and fight it as it ought to be done. But the fact cannot be run away from. His Excellency the President is the one in charge of the country now. He needs to take extra action, but he needs to be commended for what he has started to make sure we win this fight.
Very well. Franklin, hopefully the connection is great. The question I was asking you, Franklin, was whether we have made any progress at all in the last 2 weeks. We've seen some measures on the table. Are these enough, or are these good points to start from, you know?
Well, I think we've been doing the witches dance 3, which is you dance 2 steps forward and 4 steps backwards. Frankly speaking, it's a waste of everybody's time. I mean, look, to think that after a lot of the house, a lot of the shouts, a lot of the anger, the angst, and people are losing their freedoms, we only end up with something like this, as if we've not tried this before. I mean, what is happening? What is this? This is like a game of tricks and smokes and mirrors. I just don't understand what is happening. This is a waste of everybody's time. And look, this is exactly the game they don't want to deal with it. Forget it. Because look, haven't you heard most of the what the people say oh no, we will not deal with this matter, we'll wait until after December 7th. You've heard them, right? The president is actually playing into that role. You've not heard the president say a word about all the noise that's been made. If the president was actually minded to deal with this issue, he would have stated it even at the last time he met with the GJ. The whole media, Kenyan media, was there, and they called on him. They begged him. I mean, it was as if I was watching a movie. The guy just read his speech and left. He didn't even say a single word. Then after a lot of pressure, then we end up with this joke. Engineer said something not long ago. Any serious person wanting to do this matter immediately will not send these what I call advanced militia people to go and do this, what they are doing there. I mean, what they are doing there, haven't you seen that before? If this president was minded to do this matter, when his former minister for science and technology, is it
Professor Frimpong-Boateng?
That report was not even issued officially. Do you know that? It was leaked. It was only when it was leaked that we all started discussing it that the gentleman lost his position because he's touched some big people.
No, he lost his position because when they came to power the next time, he wasn't appointed. So it wasn't as if... No,
I know. Yeah, but of course. I mean, if he's done this yeoman's job and he's been naming people quietly on the behind the scenes, why would you appoint somebody who is turning your flesh again? I mean, and by the way, when was this that this just escaped me? Look, I'm just telling you that if this president was minded, we wouldn't have waited for that report to be leaked for anything. And even when the report was leaked, what happened? The OSP also started doing something. I don't know where he's at right now. Actually, he's even forgotten whether he started the work or not. We've not had a thing. So this joke that we are looking at right now, this thing that is playing out, is a huge joke. It's like a comedy of errors. And I'm surprised that we are actually we are even accepting. In fact, we are internalizing the fact that something is being done, and so LI will be what would be what's it called, revoked, and all of a sudden once the LI is revoked, but in and of itself, then Galamsey stops in the forest areas. It's a joke. This government spent close to probably $1 billion cedis that have been spent on this so-called Galamsey fight, including the $3 million that were used in buying drones. Why are the drones? Why are the drones? Why are the drones? Right? So this is a calculated, it's a waste of everybody's time. And I don't see why we should be making it sound as, I mean, the gentleman from the MPP, sorry, I don't know whether you were reading the thesis or something. I was completely taken aback. I mean, what is this? Somebody has done this, he said so. Complete joke. Look, let me not even go on.
But Franklin, there should be a thing or two said for the proposed revocation of the LI, the coalition yourselves and everybody is called for the
when you see a snake, you don't set up a committee on snakes, you just kill the snake. We knew that people were mining in these forest areas all this while. If people were minded, they would have issued this, they would have done it without even being told or without even being preyed upon. I mean, what is this? I don't even know why we are actually, I don't know why we are, how do I put it? Anyway, that was the intended effect, by the way, to make us discuss this matter, and then quietly it will appear as if some people are doing some work. Listen, that 100 men or so military men moved from where? Central region. They are now where? They said they are now in Central region. Is that not the case?
No, we know they are in the Birim River.
Oh, well, your report stated that
Central region, yes.
Yes, 100. So they move from Eastern region, then they go to Central region, then they go to... By the time they finish, the people are back on the other places that they went to. In fact, we don't even know the geographical areas they covered. There's no terms of reference, proper terms of reference to say when would this thing end. Even the gentleman, the army guy, didn't even know. He said, about 2 weeks. What is about 2 weeks?
No, so about 2 weeks, they'll review what they've done.
No.
And they'll review what they've done, and then new instructions will be given. That's what they said.
Look, this exercise is actually, how do I put it? This exercise actually drafts the other one that was done with also so many excavator seats.
The Vanguard, Operation Vanguard.
The Operation Vanguard. But then what happened after that? That big operation. You see, you want to judge the outcomes. I like the word you used. The outcomes of a policy by exactly what has been done afterwards, right? After Operation Vanguard, all these mechanical equipment were seized, but some even got lost, right, as we speak. So what is this motley crowd of advanced militia people I call them? Well, they are soldiers, but it's a militia because I don't know what they are going to do beyond what we know already. And then all of a sudden, we are being told that, oh, they've started something. So we should, please, don't, anything the president says, whatever he says from now, you just don't believe him. There are so many reasons not to believe him, you know, so let's not waste our time to be discussing this matter. It's actually irritating me to think that we are discussing this matter.
I'm sure one other person, one other person that's as irritated as you, I think, is Professor Eric Abavari, who is president of UTAG KNUST. Prof, welcome to the program. Organized labor, which you partnered to do this, asked for a number of things, key amongst them being state of emergency, halt mining in water bodies, forest reserves, etc. The immediate revocation of environmental of the LI 2462, withdrawal of licenses that have been granted for prospecting or mining in forest reserves and protected areas, and then special costs to prosecute perpetrators of Galamsey. Now, organized labor argues that after its meeting with government, some concessions were made. So the LI revocation, the first one, it will be done on Tuesday or Wednesday when Parliament reconvenes. Deployment of military and other law enforcement agencies to flush out illegal miners. We have seen that started on Thursday and continuing at least for the next 2 weeks. The government has set up 7 high courts and 7 circuit courts to fast track and deal with Galamsey cases. These are significant overtures made by government, you know, in response to your collective activism and advocacy. If these overtures or these concessions have been made, why did UTAG not join organized labor to suspend the strike? Why is UTAG continuing with the strike? People think that it's in bad faith. Hello, Prof. Do I have Prof?
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Okay. Great. You're on mute.
Muted.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So thank you very much. I don't know whether you are referring to disorganized labor or which one.
No, I mean organized labor. We know organized labor.
It is disorganized labor. UTAG is not part of them. The UTAG has never been part of organized labor. UTAG started the agitation and released our first press statement on the 9th of September. And in it, we threatened that the situation before us here is not a joke, and therefore the 30th of September, we're going to embark on strike. Then I think 3 days later, 4 days later, organized labor also issued similar press statement. Then set 1st October at the time we're going to also embark on strike. So UTAG felt, well, our motives and what we want to achieve seem to align. And therefore we decided to, okay, join them. But UTAG is not part of this organized labor. I use the word in quotes. And you saw the processes that went on. And we decided to get quit out of what organized labor did, which is this.
Organized labor says 7.
I mean, that's how do you go and agree on things that we have never agreed upon in the group? And of course, we saw the video around when they read that long, I don't know whether essay or whatever. I just want to maybe borrow the words of Franklin. He said it was a joke. The word joke is understatement. Sincerely, the word joke is understatement.
Prof,
and it takes everybody.
What was the end game? People ask because, I mean, what's the end game? UTAG is trying to force government to do what?
In perspective. Okay. You see, the point is that let us understand something in perspective. Is Ghana really want to solve the issue of Galamsey? Is Ghana really want to solve? Or the system thinks that we are all idiots? I think the system thinks we are all idiots because we know the problem of Galamsey. We know those who caused the problem of Galamsey. We know what we can do to solve the problem. What we don't know is that we don't want to do. Because if you really want to do, that is not what the organized labor appear to have. I don't know whether they were in bed with the government or what. If you allow me some time, I will really review certain things to you.
Go ahead. You have 2 minutes to do that. Go ahead and review. If you really
want to solve the problem, I want to give you some image. See the policy of free SHS. And when Nanado also promised to use his presidency to fight Galamsey, do you see the energy, the pragmatism that he exuded to wanting to solve the problem? I mean, start those policies. He was all over the place. I mean, the president. He was all over the place when he wanted to be. When people are saying that free SHS needed to be reviewed, so what? That was his question. Now, let us come back to the problem we face if they really want to solve it. I'm a teacher, so I like to do a bit of, let's say, objective analysis. There are two things that are involved in solving the problem of this kind. First is an instruction or a directive or command. Then the next is enforcement. So these are the polarities. Utah is asking the immediate term solution, not the short term, and that is the instruction. We want the president to instruct that going forward, we don't want to see any earth-moving machines. We don't want to see any form of machinery that's reported for mining and mining-related activities. If this statement is made, that becomes an instruction. The next day, it will become an enforcement because the security, the soldiers, and everyone will then be compelled to obey this instruction by the government. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. I just give you a similar example. If you recall, during the 2020 COVID, the president was at the Jubilee House and he said Greater Kumasi, Greater Accra, lockdown. It was a statement he made at the Jubilee House before going to Parliament to get parliamentary approval. Afterwards, what happened the next day? The citizen, the security, the whatever, everybody was in tune and obeying that instruction. And so enforcement followed. So instruction must come before enforcement. You also recall just recently when the boss of Mineral Commission was asked, why is it that Galamsey people are agitating? Yet, he's still issuing licensing. He said he has not received any instruction from anywhere, not to process. Do you understand that? So what it means is that he must get an instruction, and after the instruction, it will follow by enforcement. So you need the instruction, then we need enforcement. Now what I have to say is to say no earth-moving machines or whatever. And then solution would then start. That is the first one. And the second one, have you seen the document that the organized labor agreed? If you look at it with a lens, it is all based on enforcement. Everything there is based on enforcement. None of them is based on instruction. If you tell me one, none of them. Number 3, one of the critical, strongest link in the fight of Galamsey is the chiefs, the Odikros, the people, the community there. Where were they mentioned in that arrangement by the government? The chiefs were conspicuously not mentioned. Meanwhile, we say that the chiefs are culpable. So are we really serious wanting to fight something? No. Now comes to the key point. I've been hearing people saying, why do you mix the Galamsey people with those who are licensed to mine? Why are you mixing them all? And I'm saying it's a joke. Is it because of the document called license that makes their activity legal? Or the acts of the mining that are not followed international standard or best practices? Because let those who are saying they are doing meaningful mining show us 1 acre of land that they say they have reclaimed based on their activity. Or they should show us which river or stream that by doing responsible mining, they have cleaned. Or they should show me which cocoa farm that they cut down the cocoa and they have replanted and the beans are growing. They should show us one. So you see, it is all a facade, smoke screen. So let me now come to my point a bit. Anado doesn't want to solve anything. He's a big joker.
No,
he's a spectacle to Ghana.
No, he's the president. So let's accord him some,
a spectacle to Ghana because he sits at the UN co-chair for environment. Let me tell you what. Have you seen the ocean, our ocean now? I'm afraid that very soon Ghana may be hauled into the International Court of Justice for the pollution because they contain these heavy metals and it's spreading across neighboring countries. They will look for where the origin is. It will be in Ghana. Man, let me also warn you this, please. They tell me the gold that we get, we're going to get foreign exchange. Okay. So you get a foreign exchange today. Then the next 10 years to come, your cocoa beans is all infected with heavy metals. So you go to the international market, they say you have heavy metals in your cocoa beans, so we will not buy. You have heavy metals in your food stuff, so they will not buy. You have heavy metals in almost everything that comes from the earth will be infected. So we are only shifting a problem from now to the future in the next 10 years, 20 years, when many of them would have died. Remember, Ghana belongs to 3 groups of people. We have the dead Ghanaians, we have the present living Ghanaians, and we have the yet to be born Ghanaians. So none of the living Ghanaians can think they can mess up the resources that we have.
Very
so
well.
Nanado is indeed, seriously indeed, a shame to Ghana.
Very well.
I'm afraid. But then I'll give you last approach. If Nanado want to reclaim his image.
So I'll come to you on that so that you tell us how he can reclaim his image you think he is lost. This is the big issue. We're on 97.3 City FM. We are on Channel One television. A number of your messages have been coming through. This one from Emil in Kwabenya says, my first disappointment with politicians is that a hung parliament could not profit our dear nation. My second disappointment is that all party communicators are dishonest to the extent that the party in power is always right in their eyes, while wrong in the eyes of the opposition communicators. My third disappointment is that all politicians work only to win votes and seats, even if it means destroying the nation. Until the Constitution is amended to decentralize power, there is not much to expect from politicians except scandals upon scandals. May God judge both the righteous and the wicked. This is from Emil in Kwabenya. Prince Henry in Koforidua says, good morning, Salom. What was the result when this government deployed military to the Galamsey site in the past? What will change this time? In fact, this fact is the chief Galamseyers are high-ranking. The fact is that the chief Galamseyers are high-ranking politicians of which these soldiers cannot touch because party here sika you say. This one from Moses Kofi Noy in Ablekuma South says, go to Abomasu STEM School, which is less than 6 years old. It's surrounded by Galamsey operators 24/7 at the glare view of the school community. This is happening in Chebi municipality in the eastern region of Ghana. Until the top guys hang their boots, the game continues unabated. You say, Mr. Adonu, do you remember that our president once said in Twi that yet Sikaso Nanso Komudi and Sika is gold, and we cannot have gold for hunger to kill us? That's an interesting one. Emmanuel Koko in Gan South. You continue to say that when you know the repercussions of what you say today, you will know how to say it. Why is it that our leaders find it difficult to say sorry? The national fish is going bad, and the state of its head is indicating that fact. God bless Ghana. The last part not quite clear. Salam, good morning. Why is the MPP man deviating from the question? We don't need lectures on history, but to deal with reality. Such a disappointment, you say. You say you're a worried listener. Ben in Sapperman says, the government is simply a super failure on fighting Galamsey for our safety. This one says, the most unfortunate aspect of this Nana Bawumia government is that they do not deny any allegation leveled against them. Rather, they try to press the equalization button by saying that when the NDC was in governance, they did the same. Exactly that was the reason why they were voted out. So why should you repeat same and even worse? That's from Moses. Issa Ahmed says, I'm so proud of Engineer Ken. I hope I can speak with him. Salom, how can I reach him? You know, he's a main man. Just declare that you are for anti-Galamsey and he will appear. Lila MacArthur says, good morning to my MP Kofi Adams. Always a joy to listen to him on national TV. Nana Osei Amponsem one says, greetings to Honorable Lawyer Fuakwa. He is a very deep and knowledgeable lawyer. BF Mensa says, like Nana, like Bawumia, make no mistake about that, okay? Godwin Ajete Nahu says, the real culprits of Galamsey are the officials in government. This is the reason the government is unable to take decisive measures to combat this. Again, this goes to buttress the point I've been making for decades. Eresi Adomako listening live in Chadu. Kudos to Mr. Ashigbe. Continue your good works for Mother Ghana. Kudos to ChannelOne TV for keeping up the fight. Jacob Eduse, from watching live in Wenchi, history will be kind to Engineer Ken Ashigbe and his generation for being a loud voice of conscience and rallying people together in the fight. We shall overcome. All right, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will look at Galamsey and elections. And also, with the help of lawyer Clement Akapam, he will help us appreciate what the revocation process is. And then we will make some progress. This is The Big Issue. My name is Salom Adunu. I'll be back. All right, you're welcome back. This is The Big Issue, 97.3 City FM, also on ChannelOne Television and on all our socials, discussing the matter of Galamsey. Organized labor threatened strike. We almost came very close to it, and government threw in a few things, and organized labor suspended the strike. UTAG is not happy. UTAG is continuing with its strike, or its threat to strike, and so they are striking. They say they will do a few other things. You heard Professor Bavari vocalizing the views of UTAG and a few other things.
I think the technical universities have also given same indication.
Yes, UTAG is giving same indication. I have their statement here. I'll pull it out and I'll read it out to you. Let me just read this message. And this one says, good morning to the Big Issue team. I'm Isaac from Yendi. No surprise seeing this happening. If you can make a declaration by putting your presidency on the line to fight against illegal mining, and under his watch, the water bodies continuously were halted. Okay, so I think the point that point is made. This other one from Chris says that history. He says, enumeration of the problems in fighting Galamsey and long lecture on history of illegal mining does not stop the pollution of our water bodies. This government bent excavators of ordinary people and turned around to deeply get involved in Galamsey themselves. The arrogance the folks in government showcase is nauseating and embarrassing. Anyway, Honorable Ramadan brings DVLA to the doorsteps of the people in Adenta, you see. Fafraham Melcom, okay. All right, so this other one says, good morning, Salom. When the cowards withdrew, the brave men took over. UTAG and all other groups, Ghanaians are solidly behind you. As for organized labor, the least said about them, the better. Seriously, Ghanaians are not angry enough. This is from Jones, Adoboy in La. All right, let me come to, let me speak to Clement Akapam, Clement Kojo Akapam. Clement Kojo Akapam is a senior law lecturer at the Gimpa Faculty of Law. He's written an article titled Revocation of LI on Mining in Forest Reserves. What is the role of Parliament? One of the things government is thrown into this whole arrangement as concession is the fact that it is revoking the LI 2462, which is the LI that makes people mine in forest reserves. You know, we will ask Kofi how come they were in Parliament and they allowed this thing to pass without raising a finger. In fact, one of the texters, Emil from Kwabena, said one of the disappointments he's had is that this hung Parliament hasn't profited us. But you will deal with that. Let me speak to Clement Kojo Akapam, who is also a partner at Taylor Crabb Barristers and Solicitors and Taylor Crabb Initiative. He's been doing a lot of things in respect of biodiversity, forest legislation, etc. Clement, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Salom, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you join us. We know you are far away somewhere, but you've made the time to join us on this. Briefly tell me what your I mean, no, it's actually in the U.S., so it's in the United States, so he's had to wake up early just to join us on this. We appreciate that, Clement. The government has said they were revoking this. Give me your general thoughts on the LI, the fact that we sat down and allowed this LI to pass, and now we are calling for its revocation. Government has indicated its willingness to revoke it, and we hereby next week when Parliament reconvenes, this revocation will be tabled. Your general thoughts?
Thank you again, Salom. This LI, when it first surfaced, we were one of the few to start raising issues on the basis for this LI, particularly an LI to regulate mining in forest reserves coming from the Environmental Protection Agency. We have held a very strong view that the EPA lacked the legislative capacity to even have this LI passed in the first place. So we have been very critical of this LI. And for us, when we saw the advocacy going on, and then one of the issues was calling for the revocation of this LI, we thought that it was a call in the right direction. And we're happy that, yes, the law will be revoked, but we need to understand and put this in context. The LI on mining in forest reserve only sets the procedural conditions contained in your license or the steps that you must take to get a license to mine a forest reserve. So those holding licenses to mine in the forest reserve have licenses issued under our mineral and mining legal framework. So once we revoke this LI, what we would have done is that the conditions contained therein in those licenses would have been revoked. What is important for me is, one, the procedure being adopted to revoke, and also the consequential effect of any revocation. So in the debate we're having, which led to the writing of that article, the point I'm trying to raise is that When it comes to LIs, the Supreme Court is clear that the maker of the LI is the agency or authority that introduced the LI. So within our constitutional framework, the maker of an LI cannot be said to be Parliament. So that if we wish to revoke an LI, I think that once the LI has passed Parliament, it means that Parliament has given tacit approval to the LI. So if we want to revoke, the minister or the agency in charge of implementing that LI just needs to give a notification to Parliament that we are ceasing implementation. We no longer intend to implement this operational guidelines or legislative instruments that passed Parliament. The question is, once this cessation occurs, can another minister come and say, oh, I still see this on our books, so I want to implement it? That's where we're asking that when that notification is sent to Parliament, that statement made on the floor should be gazetted, and that gazette should be evidence of the revocation. Now, I don't think that we should complicate this revocation process, because if we complicate it as well, then what we want to achieve, which is revoking this LI timeously to remove those conditions granted. So one of the conditions is you have a forest entry permit, you've satisfied an environmental impact assessment to enter into the forest to mine. Once we are not acting timeously, quote unquote, these persons will have the ability to continue mining. So the argument is simple. We shouldn't adopt any complicated, fanciful procedure. The Supreme Court is clear that the maker of an LI is the agency that introduced the LI. If the agency indicates that they no longer wish to implement it, they notify Parliament, and then, as Parliament will do, help take steps to gazette that it has been revoked. So going to Parliament with the revocation LI, will it lie in Parliament for another 21 days? Can Parliament stop that revocation? We don't want that complication. And we are in this situation because we've not had a time like this where you're seeing LIs being revoked. Normally what will happen is that an LI will be replaced with another LI that gives better or enhanced legislative explanations or legislative authority to agencies. Or you have an act coming into force to repeal LIs and giving new life to new LIs. But this is a very novel situation where you're having an LI that we want to stop operationalizing. We don't want it on our books anymore. So how do we deal with it? And I think that that simple process of the minister notifying in a statement in the House and indicating in that statement what consequential and interim measures are being put in place in relation to licenses and conditions contained therein in those licenses. I think that is the quickest approach. In the future, we might decide on looking at how to do this through a more robust instrument like an act. But now that we don't have anything, I think that this is something that we can look to quickly take this thing out of our statute books.
Very well. So before you go, just to ask a layman question, what happens to all licenses which were issued under this regime? They were genuinely issued, which meant that they were acting under law when these licenses were issued. What happens to them? Do they, I mean, does it mean that these licenses now become illegal, they fail? Or they can say because at the time they were issued, the law on mining in forest reserve was the law, and so it was genuinely issued, so they will continue using it. What would they do? What becomes of the rights of persons who were granted licenses under that regime or under the regime as we speak?
Right, Salam, you rightly know that once it's issued whilst the law was law, those who are holding it will have what we will call accrued rights and stuff like that. So the next important thing after revocation or along revocation is to cancel all such licenses that were issued pursuant to the LI and mining and forest reserves. That's the only thing. Otherwise, those licenses within the legal framework are valid licenses. So the consequential measures I speak of in that article are measures that the minister responsible for environment must tell us in that statement before Parliament what they intend to do with those licenses. The number of licenses that have been issued pursuant to that LI, the cancellation, and then what the next steps are. I think that this is where we stand at the moment. Yeah.
I see. Finally. When the lawyer says finally, you should expect another finally. finally. What happens? What is the consequence of that? I genuinely acquired a license. Now, for some reason, you want to cancel it. What remedy do I have? What can I do? What can be done for me?
So the one who thinks that he's holding that license, he should look for his lawyer and he should go to court.
Thank you.
I see.
And then argument. No, seriously, Salam, because this debate is not. It is an issue of our livelihoods, or as against someone's independence benefit. The court will weigh all these things. So please, it's not. If that individual says, "Oh, I had my license, it's been cancelled," I think that has been done wrongly. The courts are there. We can use the courts to also to get clarity on this. But it has not stopped the minister from saying that we revoked this law. We gave certain conditions in this law. So consequentially, we are also cancelling your licenses because the law that sets those conditions are no longer operational. So,
Clement Kojo Akapam is a senior lecturer at the Gimpa Law School. Thank you so much for speaking to us on this matter. Thanks so much. So that's Clement Akapam, Kojo Akapam, helping us understand what the position of the law is in respect to the revocation. Back into the studio. Enoch, there's this thing about Galamsey and elections. Is it a position, or do you buy the view as espoused by a women's organizer that the fight should wait until after the election? Is that a position prevalent in your party?
Look, governance is governance. Once you have been given a mandate, you exercise that mandate to the very last time that you are handing over, or you are transferring power, or you are renewing your mandate. So I believe His Excellency the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has a clear mandate granted him by the Constitution of this country and through the sovereign will of the people of Ghana to manage the affairs of this country up to a certain point in time. That is January 7th or the 9th of the 9th of 6th January.
Yeah, 7th January.
The 9th of 6th January.
The 9th, so into the 7th. Right, so the 9th of 6th January.
By midnight, he's no more president.
Midnight of 6.
So, exactly.
By midnight of 6.
Exactly. Chief Justice, that takes over. So certainly,
that is why the speaker gets
elected
by midnight, so that the speaker is sworn in to quickly act in that period.
So that during the coronation, the speaker sits in as those kind of things. So certainly, the president has a clear mandate that ends on the 9th of 6th January 2025. And in accordance with that mandate, he exercised that irrespective of political campaign or with electoral interest and fortunes and those kind of things. But, so I was a bit worried with the kind of words that Professor Isaac Bavari used on the president, describing the president as a joker. You see, coming from academia, in the ancient Greek democratic dispensation, you know, they had 3 hierarchies of leadership. They have the rulers, the thinkers, and the rich people beneath it, the ordinary people. The thinkers are currently that we have are the academia. I believe that the academia speak on facts and based on their research findings and outcomes. And he stated clearly that no small-scale mining company has even reclaimed an acre of land, which was a complete falsehood, completely factually inaccurate. We have an issue to confront, yes, but we must be factual.
Where are the claim lands? Where can you point us to?
Oh, you can. I think one mining company, I've forgotten the name, Bright Mining or something, was awarded best small-scale mining company in 2022 sometime. When you visit that site, you go to other areas. They do reclamations.
Just by way of the truth of the matter is that I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee, and the Auditor General does environmental audits. The report clearly shows that less than 1%
of land has
of lands have been reclaimed.
Less than 1%.
1%.
So it didn't say zero.
Of lands.
So Kofi,
have been reclaimed.
so Kofi, the
It's
report
so
doesn't say
terrible.
zero.
And sometimes even I've forgotten the term that you use.
So
These mining
you try and
companies
remember
are-
what's the
what's
last
the
So
last
you see,
term?
once it is not zero, and coming from the academia point of view,
but Enoch, 0 and 1, is it less than 1%? 0 point something. That may be negligible.
it is not.
Given the existential threats
It
we
is
are
not.
confronted with.
It is not. We are confronted with an issue, and once we are confronting or we are finding solutions to this problem that we have, it must be collective. I admire the succinct presentation of Dr. Engineer Asibe on this platform. We must go in accordance with that. You see, Salom, if we begin to be describing people and running the integrity of others down, describing organized labor as disorganized labor and those things. Organized labor went to the table to negotiate with government on particular matters. Among these is the revocation of LI 2462, of which government has taken steps. As we speak today, the Attorney General has issued a memo to Parliament to trigger the revocation processes in Parliament. It is signed. This is the commitment of government. The organized labor impressed on the president to release the military to clamp down on this illegal mining on our water bodies, our forest reserves, and blah, 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 blah. Are we not seeing signs of it? We were showing this on your TV, led by Colonel Eric Tinedu and his men. They went to the table on several how do we call it? Several requests, then demands, and government acceded to these demands. What makes you think that once government has acceded to these demands, they must continue with the intended strike action? And of what benefit would that intended strike action give to the people of Ghana, whilst the things that they are asking for are being enforced or on the way, it's on the way of being enforced, or it has been enforced, or is being acted upon? Certainly, we are all Ghanaians, and we know that once organized labor organize a sit-down strike or a strike action, the economic implications to the economy will be there, and the people of Ghana will suffer. So if this request, the demands from organized labor, government has acceded to it, and government is acting upon it, why they need to strike again? I don't believe that once we are pleading with UTAG to rescind their decision to continue their strike action with the other teacher unions, like Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana also issued notice. TUTAG also issued notice to join in that regard. Fine, it is in their right.
So in your Greek characterization of leadership, so if the thinkers think that this is the route to go, shouldn't we follow them? Because they are the thinkers. So TUTAG are singing the same thing.
You see, when he was mentioning, he mentioned that there should be is it directions before implementation or something?
Instruction before enforcement. Because if there's no instruction, what are you enforcing?
Oh, but they are there. Are they not enforcing on a particular operational strategies that have been given them? Must military or intelligence operations be put out there for everybody to know that yes, the military is coming. They are flying drones. They are doing this. They are doing that. They are doing that. To put the people aware of the strategies of the military coming to clamp on them. So certainly, at least.
But this 2 weeks thing, after the 2 weeks, the people will come back. Now they are in the central region.
We've not been told. We've not been told whether they are retreating after the 2 weeks. What their commander...
But is this sustainable? Is this a sustainable approach?
I have my reservations on the system. That's why I gave you earlier on in my submission, I gave you the etymology of the military interventions as far as the fight against illegal mining were concerned, and what we are seeing today as a result of even the heightened fight against illegal mining with this militarization.
What is the reality really about Galamsey and political party funding? We've heard about party here, Sika. We hear also, in fact, the Speaker of Parliament said that the parliamentarians should stop collecting money from the Galamseyers, which means that it is a reality that the Galamseyers fund the political parties. That is why perhaps it's difficult to call them out. What is the reality really? You're a politician.
I'm a politician.
That's illegal financial inflow.
Honestly, I have not perused the accounts of the New Patriotic Party, we see people who have donated to the New Patriotic Party, stating clearly that they donated from the purses of Galam or from whosoever.
But you know it's not captured like that. You know that's not how it will be captured.
Absolutely. So once we are coming from official records, I cannot say that the funding that the political parties are receiving are coming from illegal sources, like from illegal mining, from other enterprises that are not germane or genuine, that are illegal in nature. I cannot say that because I don't have the facts to be able to speak strictly on that. But you see, the challenge is we want to find solutions to this problem. Political parties have put out manifestos. We have an existential threat to confront with. Why are other political parties silent? I would like to suggest that in this renewed fight, we've not heard the voice of former President Mahama in this renewed fight.
We've not heard the voice of President Mahama.
I'm coming. We are calling all stakeholders.
But
Dr. Kenashibe
who should take the lead? Who should take the lead?
Dr. Kenashibe is here.
The president should speak first.
Yeah, the president hasn't spoken. No. So the president, the one who's giving, Mahama has no power. He's just a former president. He has power. No, he has power. He's just a former president.
No, he has power. He's leading almost 44%. He's leading almost 44% of the voting population of Ghana.
Yeah, executive power. Clearly no.
Oh, you see, you know, with all due respect,
you know. If Mahama wants to take an action, what can he do? He can't command police or military.
The military are on the field.
No, you see, let's not. What I'm saying is that the president is the man. He hasn't spoken.
Commander-in-chief.
He hasn't spoken, no.
But his men are on the ground. So it means that he has spoken through his men. Is that not?
No, but we need to hear him. We need to hear
the commander-in-chief. His men are on the ground. So it means that he has spoken through. He has given command to his men.
Even address the nation.
So you see,
let me kneel down and beg my brother. You see, the president I beg you. This one I beg you. I plead. The president demonstrated leadership when it came to a crisis. And when you have a country in crisis, even your home, when your home is in crisis, you cannot be silent. I beg the president. But he should not forget, we are praying. Already, the Catholic Church, we've prayed. Our prayer is that he speaks.
He will speak. The president will speak. When? The president will speak once he has commissioned. Once he has commissioned his men to do something, he will speak to the people of Ghana on that. And I believe that all other stakeholders who wield some power in this country must also speak, including President Mahama, who is also... Wait. No, I'm coming. No, let me land. I said he will speak.
And the same way we are calling on him to speak, after he speaks, we the same people will call on Mahama.
So begin to call the rest of the people. So begin to call. It's a national fight. No, it's a national fight. You see, Salo, it's a national fight. And once it's a national fight, I believe that even the former president, you know, when you go to parliament, there are some committees that is being chaired by the opposition, government assurance committee, public accounts committee, and the like. Why do you think that? Why do you think that parliament in its own architecture design that to be able to? No, you see.
Just say the president will come. Just say the president will come.
Save that. No, save that. Let him finish. Save that. The president will speak. All other meaningful, well-meaning citizens must also speak.
Including the coalition. We will call on the rest to speak. We will do that. Once he speaks, so he should show the
coalition should not be only Kenashibe and the likes.
No, but
the coalition.
Don't see my red band.
Yes, you are a member. The coalition must involve all the presidential aspirants or presidential candidates in this country. To commit to the fight against
violence.
I said the coalition. The coalition must contain, or you must bring on board all the is it how many 13 presidential aspirants?
13, some on the fringes, but two.
But at least the two major ones are key.
Yes.
You see, if I believe that Dr. Bawumia will be president, so once he's also part of the coalition, he will also support the coalition based on the ideas that he wants to implement, and so he can sign a pact with the good people of the coalition and the people of Ghana. I believe that President Mahama, who was also promising amnesty and a whole lot of things, also must speak on this, so that we all know the stance of the various presidential aspirants going into 2024
elections. But I want to know the stance of the country, not party. The stance of the country.
We are not saying party. We are not saying party.
The country.
Yes, the president must speak on some achievement as a result of the renewed fight.
So the president is waiting for achievements to accrue.
No.
Then he can have something to say.
No, he will speak to the people. But once his men on the ground,
the terminity levels will come down. When he's speaking, you say 14,000. It is now at 3,000.
No.
We have worked.
No, certainly no. But you see, at least the commander-in-chief of the armed forces has spoken, and he has demonstrated real action. No,
sometimes speaking is
you are a lawyer. You know verbal communication, non-verbal communication.
No, but I'm saying that.
Non-verbal communication. No, action speaks more loudly than words.
But the optics is also good.
Action speaks more loudly than words.
They say communication. If you speak, it helps. Speak to us. Show us a direction. Give us hope. Let us know that you are on top of your job. You have not checked out, as you said.
He's on top of his job.
Yes. So he should tell us. Let us see it. Tell us. In COVID, he was doing things. But why was he speaking?
I believe the fellow Ghanaians, the president who addressed the nation again on this renewed fight against illegal mining, the president who addressed the nation, he will address the nation.
Very well.
And because now you see clear actions, a memo is on its way to Parliament to revoke LI 246.
Even that one has a problem. That memo self, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. All right, so Kofi,
well, clearly,
political parties, they say we are not hearing Mahama. We see Bande in some village or forest somewhere saying that they will continue their work. It is not helping the fight.
Selim, Mahama's position on this is very clear. We have captured most of the things that we would want to do
in the manifesto.
It's quite clear there. And I can tell you that when you vote on the 7th of December and vote John Dramani Mahama, you are voting for a president who cares about the environment. A president who is so 100% committed to what the coalition on Stop Galamsey now is pursuing. He will not come and say, as president, I am waiting for someone who has not the executive authority to speak or join before acting. That I can tell you. That I can tell you for free. He will not. And like you rightly said, when COVID came and the president declared lockdown, didn't you obey? When they said no gathering, did political parties gather? No. Political parties have to embark on other ways of what? Reaching out. That is why we elect a leader. That's why we are expecting leadership. And then you who have the mandate now says that you are waiting. I agree with the group when they say that they want commitment from all these stakeholders. That is the group speaking. It's okay. It's acceptable. But when you already have what it is that you are seeking now, we want to see what you are using, what you have now, to correct what is happening now. Don't wait for tomorrow. That is what we are talking clearly.
But Kofi, is it not fair that the president has demonstrated some action? Now military people are on the field.
What is the action? Why?
Military
hasn't military gone there before?
And revocation is on its way.
Haven't the military gone there before? Didn't they see all this situation before even the LI 2462 was brought to Parliament for East Passage? Didn't they see all this? Didn't they send military? Didn't we spend so much money? Didn't they know the effect of all this before they brought this LI?
Not to heckle you, but you are in Parliament. Well, how in God's name was that thing passed?
You see, we need more than an hour platform to really discuss Parliament. And some of the things that have happened has opened up the opportunity to correct certain things in Parliament. You know, per the standing orders and procedures, every member is entitled to every document that is laid in the House. Once you lay it, it's supposed to be distributed to every member. Most times, the distribution is done only within the chamber. So if you are not physically present, you don't get a copy. You don't get a copy.
When I thought they put this in your pigeonhole sentence.
Oh, mostly it is not. By the time you get the information, then the whole thing has passed and it's become what? Law. For example, recently there was something that was discussed on this traffic amendment regulation. Look, until it was publicly being discussed, many MPs didn't even know that such an airline has come. You see,
that's a problem.
That's why I'm saying a lot of things have come up.
Really,
for example, in our new standing orders, we must insist that for every LICI or whatever that is laid, not only should it be distributed to members, but it must be placed in their pigeon holes so they can immediately, even before its maturity. That must happen so that members who are minded to read could read it. Of course, the committee system of reporting and so on, and the quorum. Sometimes when you try to raise quorum, they think that you are undermining government business, because you can clearly see that the House is not properly formed to take decisions. And you have reported from Parliament sometime in the past, and you've seen instances where you see that the numbers are not okay. But the issue of quorum, if it's not raised, the chair presiding will not talk about it. Nobody, and then decisions are just taken. So spare me that. And again, government itself knew that when it came to mining and mining-related issues, they dealt with the Committee on Mines and Energy then, and to some extent, Lands and Natural Resource Committee. But for this LI, this controversial LI, they ignored all these two committees that have in the past dealt with mining and mining-related issues and sponsored this LI through the Environment Committee. I'm not saying that the Environment Committee should not be minded by the destruction of the environment. The EPA.
Yeah, the EPA Act is what they use for this.
Exactly.
And the EPA is environment.
The EPA. And it didn't come through, even though it's really mining-related issue, they use EPA. But lessons have been learned. And I think
so I've just seen a copy of the notice to Parliament from the Attorney General. And I will want your view on it.
But you see, yes, that one I think is given already, considering the discussion.
So you are on the same level with Clement Akapam.
I'm saying that is given
on how it has to be revoked. But the reading of this suggests otherwise. So it said above. Okay, so environmental protection, mining in forest reserves, revocation instrument 2024. So he's actually laying an instrument. The above matter refers, subject matter refers. Please find attached a copy of the environmental protection mining in forest reserves revocation instrument 2024, which has been dated and signed by the minister responsible for environment. Kindly arrange for the instrument to be laid in Parliament in accordance with clause 7 of Article 11 of the Constitution.
So
signed Attorney General. It will go through the process for 21 days.
21 sitting days.
So we'll be at this for 21 days.
And we are likely not to even sit for 21 days. It's very likely that when we report on the 15th, we may not have 21 sitting days before we go back.
So the next government will have to deal with this.
It's very, very likely that we will not have 21 sitting because
21 days will take us to middle of November or
and we are not going to be sitting up till middle of November. We will be.
We'll go for elections.
Yeah, we'll be going for elections. We are just coming to sit for a short and then approve some appropriation just for the first quarter of the year. That's the reason why we are coming, because the last year normally the budget for the ensuing year is read in November.
In November, yes.
End of
so one of the key things you do when you go back to the budget.
We are going into an election. We are not going to read the budget for 2025.
You do for the first
quarter. So what they are going to do is for the first quarter, just for us to appropriate some money for salaries and other things to be paid. So we're really not coming to sit for a very long time. And I don't think that we will have about 21 sitting days, because it's not 21 days. It is 21 sitting days. Even if we sit on Mondays and possibly
we won't get there.
We won't get there. Maybe unless we say that we should sit also on Saturdays. But I know members may react because we are in a period of campaign period or that the members, even if they agree for a Monday, may agree.
Thanks so much for sharing this. So this notice to Parliament intends to lay an instrument to revoke the environment or the LI. So this means that so Clement Akapam's view was that a notice by the minister to the House would have been okay. Which is fine. Would have been faster
because
and
the House
and tidier.
The House will all be out for it.
Complete regulation. This is a complete regulation, and it might be revoked in accordance with the procedure. You know, recently, which law was that? It is not just one provision of the regulation that is being repealed is the entirety of the environmental regulation. And I believe that is why he's triggering the article.
Well,
but a notice
clearly
should
they say Parliament
is a master of his own
rules. And
but this is constitutional.
Parliament should have been left to deal with some of these matters. You see, and the good thing about what lawyer Akapam talked about, that some accrued rights, is that luckily most of these concessions have not been ratified by Parliament. And so if you look at Article 268, which deals with ratification, then they really, even though they may have some right, well, Parliament didn't ratify it. The only thing is that the Minerals Commission and all other commissions have hidden under 2692 to be issuing final licenses and concessions without recourse to Parliament as provided for under Article 268, 1 and 2. So we really must look at that, whether Minerals Commissions, whether EP, whether Water Resource Commission and what have you, Forestry Commission, all of them have those rights because of 2692 to just be issuing final concession licenses without recourse to Parliament as provided for under Article 268, 1 and 2.
For least, Parliament must ratify it before it becomes...
But you see, if you look at 2692, I don't have a copy of my constitution. If you look at 2692 and you read it, it's what has also created, you see, 2692 says, notwithstanding Article 268 of this constitution, Parliament may, upon the recommendation of any of the commissions established by virtue of clause 1 of this article, and upon such conditions as Parliament may prescribe, authorize any other agency of government to approve the grant of rights, concessions, or contracts in respect of the exploitation of any mineral, water, or other natural resources of Ghana. So they have relied on this because 269 says that you establish like forestry commissions, fisheries commissions, mineral commission, and what have you, and to be regulated by an act of what? Parliament. So they have relied on this 2692 to be doing what they are doing, disobeying 268 1 and 2. 268 1 says any transaction, contract, or undertaking involving the grant of a right or concession by or on behalf of any person, including the government of Ghana, to any other person or body of persons, however soever described, for the exploitation of any mineral, water, or other natural resource of Ghana, made or entered into after the coming into force of this constitution, shall be subject to ratification by Parliament.
I believe there is a judicial decision on this. In the matter of the Estin Cubic matter, the Supreme Court has been addressed by the Supreme Court. So certainly, one has been addressed.
Clearly, and if you look at this, Parliament, and even 2682 says, Parliament may by resolution supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament exempt from provisions of clause 1 of this article any particular class of transactions, contract, or undertaking. So this one is not even a wholesale, right? It is based on contract or a concession base, each and every one of them.
Very well.
They have just gone.
Recently, you ratified that of the concession.
Yeah, we did one like that.
The lithium bill was brought to Parliament, and you ratified it. So it was.
So, like I said, when the president gave the orders in COVID, we followed. And so I am clearly that the president must give leadership. The president is not alone. The president is there with a vice president. And so when we call on them,
very important.
Yes, no. When we call on them, we are not calling on him as a flag bearer,
former president.
The ticket.
We are calling them as people who have been given the mandate. You see, when Ken and his group, which I am part of, the stock I am part of, I'm a proud. Look, when you see images, when I saw some images in his phone, and I saw one that was also posted by a doctor yesterday, you'll be moved to support these kind of things. You'll be moved to talk sometimes the way my good friend, the lawyer, is not happy about the professor speaking. Because you get confronted and you see the effect of those things. And so the president and the vice president, for me, they must act. And when the group calls on the two leading politicians again to speak, they are doing so because they believe that John Mahama, for example, might believe that will become president. So they want to have an assurance that this will continue. It's fine. So some people have what you see in John Mahama becoming from 7th January 2025 already. And they must be called upon to use that power that they have now. Because look, 2 months is still a very long time for so much to happen. We can save the situation. We can stop the bleeding now. If you declare an emergency in those areas, you see, when even the military move, everybody will be afraid to go in. But if it is just their physical movement, when they move out, they will go back.
Yes.
When they move, but when you declare an emergency, that one, even if they are not there, you will know that an emergency has been declared. It's like COVID. When they declare lockdown, and you know that when you move out, you will be arrested and possibly be prosecuted. Well, 1 or 2 may attempt and they will be dealt with, but a lot of majority obeyed.
Yes.
So you use that to be able to safeguard the situation and not this lackadaisical approach to. Look, government should be the one that should have been sponsoring a documentary on the effect of Galamsey by now. We shouldn't be waiting for stop the Galamsey people to even do that.
Very well.
They should have been throwing out those images and to force the people, if you think that there are some group of persons who will not support that fight, maybe they haven't seen it. That is why they possibly are not joining you to fight if truly you are fighting. You should be leading this charge. Unfortunately, I know that officials of governing party ends up mobilizing some persons in communities to demonstrate in favor of Galano Yebeye. To wit, it means that the Galamsey we will do, Galamsey will do, because they are seeing the immediate economic gain. They are not realizing that, look, when you make that money and you deceive yourself that you are buying bottled water or buying sachet water, some of these bottled and sachet water contain the contaminants because they have not been able to take it out. And you will be drinking poison into your system and destroying yourself. And you are not only destroying the environment that is near, you are destroying environment even far from you. Even far from you. When you are flying from Takoradi to Accra and you watch the sea where the water bodies enter, and the fresh water bodies enter the sea, you can see the color of the sea that has completely changed.
Very well.
And clearly, senior persons of Dr. Bawumia campaign, the one in charge of the medal belt is Dr. Afiyi. What did he say? He says those who are campaigning and demonstrating, they are demonstrating in Accra. Do they do Galamsey in Accra? They don't know that the effect of Galamsey everywhere has an effect on all of us. Take, for example, NAT. You know that NAT has a program where they pay for the kidney ailments of their members. So if NAT have members in those Galamsey-dominated areas, it is going to affect their funding. Because they now have to be many more persons in 5 years, in 10 years' time, will be reporting kidney diseases and what have you, that they have to spend money to be dealing with such situations. So it affects them, it concerns them, it concerns everybody. We all travel. We go to the Kumasi that he's talking about, and we drink water, we buy food, we do all those things. So it's a concern for all. Not only him. Mrikuduka, another MP, he is also Dr.
He's in charge of the mining
this year. Did you listen to him? He says they will only solve the Galamsey problem and water will get cleaner and clearer after the elections. Then you have Kate Jenfua, the women's organizer statement also. So clearly, you don't get commitment from people who have the mandate already. What's the guarantee that even when they need the power, few months to considering the agitation that is coming up, including the Catholic Church going on a demonstration, and they are not prepared it's a procession. Doing that, and they are not prepared to do it. Why is it guaranteed that when they get the mandate, they will do it? Party just scab you, and then they will go back to it.
Ken, I mean, I have been taken aback at the letter by the...
Sorry, the term I was looking for with the mining EPAs and then East implementation was the bond. You see, the mining companies are supposed to present bonds. We realize that those bonds, they are really not bonds that you can use to apply in case you call on when they fail to reclaim the sites.
Very well. I'm a bit taken aback by the Attorney General's notification. I don't know what to think about it, which means that if what Kofi is saying is anything to go by, it may not happen in the life of this parliament.
Yeah.
So that will revoke this LI.
Again, you see, so sometimes you want to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes when you see some of these things, and you know that, the learned Attorney General knows very well, what the laws are. You're not going to get 21 parliament sitting days before they go back. So then this would really be, you would completely be useless ab initio.
But Mekuduka says that
parliamentarians must commit to it. Why is the national call?
No, I'm just saying that if
they
you
must
don't
sit
get...
they must sit and pass it and revoke.
They must sit and not do elections.
No, so are we putting elections ahead
Again,
of
that's
our
a good
lives?
point, though. But
are we putting elections ahead of our lives? No,
but council,
they have a mandate which ends on 6 January 2025.
But council, isn't that, you see, the thing about...
It will be asking for too much if you say the parliamentarians should stay and not go and campaign.
No, but the point is that are there not other means by which this can be done?
No, in the Justice Abulai case, the Supreme Court was clear that Parliament are masters of their own rules, subject to the Constitution. So this is the constitutional provision process, and once it is not in line with the constitutional, it renders null and void, and somebody may exploit it.
Okay,
are you getting it? It cannot be impeached. So once they subject to the Constitution, then it must be. So parliamentarians must sit and make sure that once we are all calling for the revocation of LI 246 to that government has committed to.
Our laws are not clear about revocation. Okay, so what the Attorney General is doing in this sense is to go the other way around, because when you are passing the LI, this is how you go, and now his interpretation of it is that if you want to revoke it, you go the other way around. That's why he's saying that an instrument has to be laid. But the other school of thought is that a notification to Parliament will be faster, it doesn't breach any rule, and it can happen. I think we must start to some more legal debates.
Once we have rival interpretation being ascribed to this procedure, then the Supreme Court must interpret, which will take time.
The Supreme Court will take time.
No, the Supreme Court will take time.
Because the people have filed things,
It's going to help me to go to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
So let me speak to Franklin.
Look at the directive principles of state policy. You look at the provision, I think 9, that the state shall take appropriate measures needed to protect and safeguard the national environment for posterity, and shall seek cooperation with other states and bodies for purposes of protecting the wider international environment for mankind.
Very well.
Even the directive principle of state policy.
It's great.
No, when was this? When we were sponsoring this?
To sit and revoke it and repeal it.
All right, Franklin. Interesting things we are seeing. I don't know what to make of the revocation notice we've seen, and what the suggestion Enoch is giving or making, that Parliament should sit through the process and forget about elections and get this thing done, if indeed they mean business with the fight.
I think I had Clement suggest that, because this is a very important matter, it has to be dealt with on the basis of emergency. Otherwise, if we are going to go through the motion, and which is likely to be the case, I'm not sure we are going to see the end of this LI as it is, as it's being said right now. So it's a bit difficult for me to understand. But even the LI, isn't it secondary to the whole idea of a state of emergency on the rivers and forest areas? I don't even understand this whole thing. The LI will kick in anyway. It's a process. It's not as if all of a sudden, as soon as the LI kicks in, then automatically some sort of state of emergency is declared, which means nobody can mine in the forest. Yes, maybe But why don't you do what is easier to do first right now, before you even get to Parliament? For all you know, someone may even raise an objection in Parliament. Someone may even go to court, just as Clement suggested. That look, well, I've got my mining license and I'm bona fide circumstances. This LI, I'm challenging it. Then before you realize, it's just like the anti-LGBT thing. It's going to Parliament, it's going to court. Then we have to wait. Commonsensically, deal with the most important low-hanging fruits right now. Declare a state of emergency on the rivers and person. Nobody say, you know, and the funny thing is that I've seen some memes and some video going around suggesting that, oh, people are asking for the president to declare state of emergency throughout the entire country. That's a lie. It's not the point. Declare emergency on the rivers and how do you call it, forest area. I don't know of any leader in the world who wouldn't do this. Even in communist countries, I'm sure they would have said, 70%, almost 70% of your rivers are blooded, and you are sitting here doing kanana, doing the witches dance, 2 steps forward, 4 steps backwards. What is this? And then we are clapping, and then some people say, oh, they've started doing something. These are all old games and tricks. I don't even know why we are even applauding this whole thing. It's as if we are being gifted. And the other thing which irritates me, which I hear, let's all come together. Come together to do what? I gave you the mandate. You came to me to beg for votes. You even said you put your presidency on the line. Now you're telling me to come together. Why? Is it a community labor? I pay taxes. You collect per diem. You collect per diem. Anytime you junket around the world, you collect per diem. You eat. You even have a car that takes care of your check. All of that we are paying for it. Then you're telling me that we should come together. Come together to do what? I gave you power. Use it. Anyway, the president said he's checked out. I'm sure he forgotten. He said some.
No, Enoch says he hasn't checked out. Enoch says it's on the
ground.
No,
he said the president said it himself. My brother, you didn't hear your old man. He said it himself. Look, he said it. I think he was talking to some religious group.
No, I think he was talking to Jude Duncan of City. If it is the one at the party headquarters during the first round of the MPP election.
So there's a record.
So there's a record to my own producer, Jude Duncan.
So he said, and that's even more on record. So he said he's ran his race. The next president should come and deal with the difficulties. And maybe that's what he's actually said. I don't know why we're actually expecting anything from him anyway. I mean, from somebody who promised me no haircut and gave me one of the ugliest haircuts. From somebody who said I'll not go to that. I mean, if I actually went there in an ambulance. From somebody who said I'll put a president on the line and he's doing
said he's prepared to put his presidency on the line.
What is this?
That's
why. Is that what?
No, he's just trying to qualify it. Now he said he was prepared to put his presidency on the line.
Yes, and he should put the presidency on the line right now.
Yes,
this is the most important thing my good brother, my good friend. I don't recognize my friend any longer. My friend, the president. I don't even recognize him. If I see him in public, I don't know whether he's the same Nanado I used to know.
I think you need to visit him. If you say he's your friend, maybe he needs you now.
I have to visit him one of these days, in fact, and understand what is happening.
All right, so this is a big issue. We'll take a short break. We'll return and continue. Don't go away. You're welcome back. This is the final lap of the program, The Big Issue, discussing Galamsey in different forms. The past 2 weeks have been eventful. Labour threatening strike, last minute backing down, suspending same, etc. We're supposed to deal with the EC matter, but the consensus is that because Galamsey is such a huge matter and the week has been packed with a lot of Galamsey matters, we push the Galamsey matter to we push it to the end. So that's what we are seeking to do. Let me come back to you, Enoch. In your view, what is being done is what must be done, and that's what we are seeing. Nothing more, nothing less. This is how we solve the situation. This is the way to go.
Yes, certainly. The current measures that have been put in place is what I believe is needed at this time to be able to restore the extent of degradation to its normalcy. Going forward, I believe that the thinking of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in bringing forth the Mineral Development Bank and the like, you see, with the issue of illegal mining, people that understand the real business will tell you that it's a capital matter. People have licensed they have license concessions. They are locals. They've gone through the whole rudiment of law to be able to procure a license for themselves, of which they have covenants with government to mine and mine sustainably in a particular form. But they have no money. They rely on foreigners to be able to do that. And the moment you bring in foreign participation in the small-scale mining sector, it renders that illegal. Illegal. Again, these small ones. And you see, Salom, the issue of small-scale mining, you know, this alluvial belt and this surface mining, it drains from, it leaches from the mountains to the valleys. And the valleys are where we have our water bodies or our streams and rivers running. So, in terms of the deposits, the banks of the rivers and the streams are the more potential prospect areas where you can get a lot of all these ore bodies to be able to mine. And these are the red zones. The buffer zones are the red zones. And they know it. And because they have no capital, probably the person is going to rent an excavator, say 5,000 Ghana cedis for an 8 hours, bought some fuel and the likes, want to make some ends meet to be able to pay off the few investments if it was some loans that the person procured. Knowing very well these are gray areas that the person should not go. And feel that when he goes to that place, we'll be able to get some nuggets and be able to pay off his initial investment and those things. We push the temptations that the person will go there to be able to procure that. Why don't we commit as a people in pushing the needed resources? Whilst we are regulating them, we give them the capital that they need, because in terms of the expertise, our people have them. I then encourage the geological survey to be able to identify more prospecting and viable gold belts, so that we can put our small-scale miners on this belt to be able to mine and mine sustainably. The Geological Survey Department of Ghana will give them more capital to be able to explore more, identify more viable gold belts, to be able to allow our people to mine.
You see, I've looked at Dr. Baumia's manifesto on illegal mining.
On mining, small-scale mining.
On small-scale mining.
Sure.
Of course, it doesn't appear to me that he's addressing the problem as is now. He's thinking about the future. Okay, there's nothing really about today's problem. I have it at page 198, addressing Galamsey. We will address Galamsey challenge to enhance operations of small-scale miners and protect the environment by making available the proven reserves data, simplifying small-scale mining licensing regime, scaling up the use of mercury-free gold catcher machine technology, constructing settlement dams, aggregating and utilizing the reclamation fund, using the comprehensive and collaborative approach to ensure strict adherence to our mining laws. And this is so general. So the problem we have now, he hasn't touched it. You see, so the thing you are talking about, the alluvial, I mean the red zones being very mineral rich, that's true. But they are not supposed to be there.
Absolutely.
Whether they are rich or not, they are not supposed to be there.
You shouldn't take me aback. What I'm trying to tell you is that because these people lack the capital adequacy to be able to mine sustainably, they know it's a red zone, you shouldn't go there. But they go there and they commit all these sorts of degradation against all of us. Because the end game is all of us. You see, Salom, let us look at the broader picture of illegal mining. And the broader picture is that we have used brute force and militarization, and it has not yielded the impact that we desire. During the fight against the major fight, the heightened fight, Dr. Kenashibe Itie, in 2017-2019 era, with the training, alternative livelihood projects, and a whole lot of things, we are back to where we were again, and even much more. We can even say a bit heightened than what we even inherited. It tells you that the bigger picture is what Dr. Baumia is proposing, the medium-term and the long-term effect, so that we'll be able to nip that in the back. Look at how much we are spending on militarization. Whenever you send a military operation...
How do we stop the hemorrhage, the bleeding? How do we stop it? He didn't address that. Your manifesto didn't address that. Your manifesto is talking about medium-term, long-term. The immediate problem, which is the existential threat. In fact, we may not even live to the medium-term. Yes. To start implementing
the short-term measures is what is currently ongoing. And you asked me whether the use of the military currently as it stands is the way to go. And I told you that for now, that is what we can use to be able to ward them off the red zones, i.e. the water bodies and the forest reserves that we are all complaining of. That is disturbing us currently. I believe that the heightened fight now, the core by the ordinary people of this country, the core by the citizens of Ghana, is as a result of the higher stability levels and the devastation that we are seeing today. Largely, once we are taking them off, mining is economic, environmental, and social. The economic issues are there. The local economy, the people, the employment that gives to the people that engage in this mining and the likes, the value chain and all those things is there. Social, if people don't have work to do, sometimes they engage in these more practices and a whole lot of things. Those concerns are the environmental. So our problem and our challenge now is environmental problems. And how do we address these environmental problems? And this is what I'm telling you, that the policy proposition of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, I believe that we should all adopt it as a country and say enough is enough. Over 40 years of fighting illegal mining, of which we have spent national resources, scarce national resources, which is not yielding the needed benefits or results that we all desire. We can use this approach to also see whether this approach will be able to enhance and will be able to give us the deliverables as we are all encouraging and wanting to see. These small ones doing these shootings, if they have equipment of which they have been licensed to mine sustainably, IEPMMC buys the minerals from them, the Mineral Development Bank gives them the facility to buy this, procure these machines, they are trained in occupational health and safety and those things, and they are mining sustainably. Wouldn't you think that that would be the way to go? And we are policing them, and they will not go into these water bodies and these forest reserves.
I see. Great.
If on landing on this point,
for 2 minutes.
On landing on this point, landing on this point, we have attempted the issue of emergency or moratorium, the ban, the total ban, and we are all witnesses to the total ban on small-scale mining, whether licensed or unlicensed, in 2017 to 2019.
We couldn't police it properly. The interministerial committee that came out of that, Professor Frimpong Barton's report is there for everybody to see. We did not appear to have been committed to the moratorium and its results. So that's why we are back here.
It goes far from that. I believe that we can do a stakeholder dialogue or consultations with regards to these things. We can also take feedbacks. We can also take feedbacks from the people themselves. We can all do that as mining communities and take response from these people to see whether these are what they need or what
you were off a bit. You went off a bit, but I give you 2 minutes. There was a final point you wanted to make. So make that point, and in 2 minutes, give me the way forward for this. UTAG will remain on strike for how long, and where can we stop this?
Thank you very much, Salom. But before I respond, let me correct something my learned lawyer, the communicator, was making, that I have described the president with a word that he's not comfortable with. I want him to understand that I want my government to succeed. I want my country to succeed. And if my government succeed, it means my country also succeed. And if my country succeed, it means I would have succeeded. Now, made those description of the president, and I still stand by them, that he's a big joker. When we went to school, elementary school, you recall that we studied something called runoff. You have a figure, is a fraction that's less than 0.5, you run it out to be 0. Is that correct? And so if Honorable Adams says that according to Accountant General's environmental audit report says that we've done less than 1%. And in examination, normal examination we conduct, if you get less than 50%, we say you have failed. But even in the university, we accept 40%. And if you get less than 40%, you have failed. So if assuming I have put the president to examination on Galam, and I'm supposed to assess him on his performance of land reclamation, and he gets less than 1%, and if I describe him as a joker, is it out of blue?
I mean, the point is made.
Because I'm academic.
The point is made. So deal with the way forward for me. Yes, deal with it for me. 30 seconds. The way forward.
But before I go, my claim were that we wanted them to prove for the forest reserve a clean water, and that of the found out in the soil. How much of them have been claimed? my point. But I want not I also heard the NDC Honorable was saying that the NDC has put in some measures that when they come to power, you should let me poo-poo him. Because you see, during the NDC regime from 2015 to 16, that time, on which the Galamsey was also at its peak, what did the NDC do? And I think right now they are trying to take opportunity. And so I see JDM as an opportunistic man trying to take opportunity of the situation that we are describing the government. So they are highly opportunistic. So they shouldn't take advantage of my statement and try to go and do politics with it. Because they are used to, they don't even have moral compass to be to discuss, what do you call it, Galamsey. Because they failed woefully in that period. They didn't do anything about it. Is there any policy direction about Galamsey thing that in 2016, 2015 they did? And I come to the way forward. The way forward, Utah has made it clear that banning is the only way to solve this existential threat. And when we say banning, we didn't mean something like in perpetuity.
A temporary ban for a few weeks or days.
Yes, not few weeks. We're just going to say that let's cool off and call the places that we are in, the menace is at the highest point, to a point so that we can all find a better solution in dealing with it.
Very well.
That's what Utah is saying. And how long can we continue with it? We will continue to push the government to do the needful. And the needful is that you should call all earth-moving machines to be stopped. They should also ban forms of mining on the river bodies. That means that they have to what? Just say the word, like I said, extraction. Give out the extraction and it will be done.
Thank you. Kofi.
So clearly, the problem of Galamsey is not funding. So if anybody thinks that as his future solution to Galamsey is to create a development or a mining development bank, mineral development bank for, as he claims that, to fund, that's not a problem. Because what is happening, they have the chamfans, the excavators, the what have you, all these heavy earth-moving equipment that is destroying our water bodies and forests. So the problem is not because of what? Funding. So we shouldn't be finding a solution to what is not the problem. You see, the problem has always been the involvement of government officials and very powerfully connected political persons and higher persons involved in it. So you need a commitment from the very top. The president and the vice president committed to dealing with the situation roughly, like what Professor Frimpong told us. We should have seen action from a president or a vice president when he said that your appointee is a threat to our fight against Galamsey. Nothing happened. You cannot fight Galamsey with such attitude. You remember what Otunfo said when they invited him for that program? He said they were trying to persuade him from speaking the way he should, but he's going to speak anyway. He refused to be persuaded to go along the line, the thinking of those who went to him that day. What has Otunfo done? He has distilled 3 chiefs recently. He's done so. What is government doing? Government continue to protect persons who are making statements that they should not be making. The campaign continue to protect persons who are making statements that they should not be making. I think that we must act and act immediately. Look, government brought gold catchers. What has those gold catchers, has it solved the problem? That's what I'm saying. The issue is not about funding. The issue is not about even support.
Enforcement.
It's about enforcement. It's about the willingness to do what is right. And they have failed to do so. They cannot be promising.
Final word from you, Franklin, in a minute. Hello, Franklin. Okay,
look,
so
can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Well, I've been wondering why we do these things to ourselves, really. I mean, I think it is clear. The pathway is clear as to what we should do. This is a crisis and must be dealt with like a crisis. that declare a moratorium, some stoppage of mining on rivers and this, and then anyone who is there, you use what you call area means to actually identify them and bombard them out of the place. That's what you should do. That's what I think a commander-in-chief would actually be doing. Because this is exactly what we need. We don't need these people going around like militiamen looking for people. I mean, look, the people even know that they are coming, then they run away. I tell you, they may not even have a single arrest. So it's just a joke. Seriously, this whole thing is a joke. And I think that we want the matter solved now. My brother from the MPP, let Nana Bawumia tell us what he will do right now and do it now.
Okay.
Don't wait until he becomes president.
Great. Use 30 seconds to address us.
Well, thank you very much. I think that the point has to be made that the president have started a few things, as I've said. There are some things that are left, major issues that are left to be done. We need to be holistic. Definitely, we would need to solve the crisis before we go to all the other measures. If you look at the NDC manifesto, the MPP manifesto, they are not confronting the now. So the president has
now
to.
There's a president
and
a vice president.
So that's,
there's president and vice president.
Let me finish.
7th January,
we have a former president. So it's important that we hear the president speak, and we need to make sure that the president deals with the other issues that are there. And then, but I think it's important. Bande, Mrekuduka telling us all of those conversations, we need to confront it, especially the parliamentary candidates and those who are campaigning. We should not allow anybody to want to take advantage of this fight. But the red band continues. We need the red band to continue to make sure that that we win this fight.
Thank you. This is how we conclude today's edition of the program. My name is Selam Adunu. Thanks so much. Catch you same time next week. Have a good afternoon.